Good afternoon, Orban. Good evening, Orban. And I'm invisible at the moment. One moment, gentlemen. Had a couple technical issues on this launch. Had to reboot the PC. But good evening. We've got a lot of, geez, a whole bunch of people. So from the top, Sotener, Kaze Fox, Forno Raisin, Spider Spectre, Moon, Mac Trek, Dr. Dre, D-Man 50, Random Gen Z Bastard, IY Van, Gonal McCracken, Mochi Alex, Jaded Warlock, Tom's One Da Full. Hope I got that right. Psy, said Moon, I believe, and Cubing Speed. Welcome. All right. Okay, and yeah, we. So yeah, we are about to get into this. Welcome back to the Red Pill Cult meeting. I hope you all brought your robes, sacrificed your goat as appropriate. And we are going to continue with the long overdue continued analysis of Sean of Think Before You Sleep and his deleted history. Some of you who've been around for a while probably recognize this. It has been so long since this happened for me that I honestly remember very little. I know it happened, I know it was a thing, but the details escape me. All the brood is gathered to watch the slow decline of Sean. Well, I mean, if we wanted to watch the slow decline of Sean, we'd tune into one of his live streams. No. We're here to look into his past and just see everything that he wanted to sweep under the rug and hide away. But let us see. So, I'll just start enjoying this. I'm trying to get a bit more iconic like this, but just so. All right, here we are. Archived video number 27 from the Think Before You Sleep archive. Red Pill Drama. Let's just jump right into it. This is going to be interesting.
It's been a bad 2 weeks for me, at least in my perspective, and at least in my experience. Now, I mentioned this before, but I took this right from Jordan Peterson, is that hell is a bottomless pit because things can always get worse. So for me, I've had some pretty bad damage to my foot. I bruised my bone, which makes it really hard to walk, which makes it really hard to work. I had my car totaled a couple days ago. And now this, I open up my YouTube screen yesterday, or actually.
So in a video titled Red Pill Drama, you start off with your own life's personal bull. Oh yeah, I forgot something very important. I forgot. Oh yeah, we gotta boost the playback speed because he likes to waffle, and we will be at this for a while, even though it's a short video. Yeah, let's get that playback speed up to at least 1.3. All right, let us resume.
So a day and a half ago or so, I open up my YouTube screen and I see a video by DDJ, one of my favorite YouTubers, that's MGTOW. Alcine, another one of my favorite YouTubers that's MGTOW, Turtling Monkey. Basically, I listen to three MGTOW YouTubers. I listen to Sandman, Turtling Monkey, and DDJ. And so to see 2/3 of that fighting with each other is not a very happy day for me. And so I watched the whole video pretty much right away that DDJ made about Turtling and Monkey. And what I wanted to do was wait until the second side of the story had been told, because in my life I've learned quite well that there are always two sides of the same story, and oftentimes the person who told the first side will intentionally or unintentionally leave things out of the story that change the story completely. Like, I've heard plenty of stories where someone sits there and accuses someone like, how dare they do this, they did this, and this. And then you hear the second side of the story and they say, well, I only did this because of that. And the second side of the story totally rectifies the actions of the person being accused initially. So it makes the first person who told you the story look kind of bad. So I waited for Turtling Monkey's rebuttal to come out, and I've watched that, and I've watched the second video by DDJ, and I think I've heard enough. I'm sure there hopefully will not be more of this drama, but there could be more of this drama. And if there is more of this drama, I'm not going to sit here and wait and listen to all of it, because I'd like to, well, with my extremely small following, I'd like to put a slight end to this, because I've watched this happen in other communities. I've watched this happen in the vegan community. I mentioned before in another video that I no longer participate in the vegan movement because of shit like this.
Is veganism a movement? I mean, is veganism a movement? Like, does it have actual political backing? I'm not sure, but drama happening in... Yeah, and well, first of all, like, red pill stuff isn't a movement. There's no freaking government support. But just like MGTOW, it's not a movement. It's a philosophy. Disagreements, falling out, clarification. Guess what? This stuff happens in a group. You get a community of people who like to talk about stuff. There's going to be disagreements. People are going to talk about that stuff. Like, I'll be honest. If you don't like groups of people having falling out, then you need to leave all communities and go off to the middle of the woods. This is just how shit goes. Like, this video series right here, it's exactly the same thing. Someone who was thought to be within the community decides to pull a fucking Judas, and now there's a thorough dissection into the past. So, congratulations, Sean. Once again, you have become the very thing that you rail against. Yeah, exactly. Jump from woe is me to my internet communities are fighting to I'm a vegan. Like, yeah, like, what the heck's this about? I mean, it's not even a long video. This is probably going to be the shortest segment on here. But, again, let's see if he actually has a point beyond just complaining.
Because vegans claim to be violent, but then they do things that are violent, or they say, oh, well, let's be vegan and be nice to animals, but then let's all be communist, which is the most violent system known to man. So things like that. Plus, there's a lot of drama, or there used to be at least a lot of drama in the vegan community, and I watched this exact same thing happen, ruin other people's followings, and certainly ruin people's credibility.
Just, I mean, how hard is it really to do with the whole vegan thing? I mean, okay, like, look, I'll be honest here. I don't really get much of the point of a vegan community. Like, what do you try? Aside from sharing recipes, what the heck do you do in a vegan community? What is there to discuss? There's no deeper philosophical look. It's like, hey, we don't want to eat animals or anything taken from animals. Unless you're debating like what food applies where, just eat whatever the heck you want. I mean, is the whole... Well, let's be honest. Like, personally, I think that it's all just a big social thing. They are vegan just to have the label of being vegan. Again, I could go on a whole other side tangent about my thoughts of disgust toward vegans, but again, we're almost halfway through this video already, and it's like, talk about the whole topic of the video here. Stop bitching about vegans, because quite frankly, this should be more I hate drama rather than red pill drama. But whatever, you're chasing the red pill algorithm and trying to make it tangentially about something else, so you're just coasting off the drama for your own video success while complaining about it. Whatever, let's keep going.
Because they engage in petty crap like this. Like, there was this big battle between two major vegan YouTubers, one named Freely the Banana Girl and the other named Durian Rider. And they were having some relationship problems, and they decided to take their relationship problems out to the public forum, which basically just sat and made them look really, really crazy, and got a lot of anti-vegans very, very happy. Because what this really helps is, this doesn't help the community. What this does is it helps all the people who hate us. Because what's going to happen is that somebody's going to be new to MGTOW, maybe today, or in the past 48 hours, or maybe in the next week or so, if more of this stuff comes out, and they're going to see this shit, and they're going to be like, well, this group doesn't have it together. They're doing petty crap, and they're doing so publicly.
That's literally every community. Can you name one organization out there which does not have its own internal drama flare up and become popular? People like drama. Like, what? This group doesn't have it together? Like, guess what? That's going to be more prominent in things like Red Pill and MGTOW than anything else, because MGTOW and Red Pill, they are by and large not a communal philosophy. They are an individualist philosophy. You're going to get a lot of individuals with very strong personalities, and they're probably going to disagree with each other. And then you get the whole, most guys are one blowjob away from going back to the plantation. You add that on top of that, yeah, there's going to be a lot of separation. There's going to be a lot of falling out. That's just the nature of the beast. Saying that people are going to be turned away from a community because there's drama within it. Like, really? Seriously, imagine how... Sorry, that just sounds ridiculous. Like, someone is going... Like, they don't go and be like, oh, hey, what's this Red Pill MGTOW group? Let's go see what they're all about. Oh, drama. Oh, I'm going to walk away from that. I can't stand that. Really? No. If people are casually just dipping their toes in the Red Pill that way, then they're probably better off not knowing to begin with. Now, by and large, when someone's getting down to the MGTOW level of Red Pill, they've encountered some shit that they need answers to. And now, I mean, this was years ago, but this stuff's way more popular now. So, like, people have been probably dipping their toes. Like, no one's going to stumble across TFM by accident as their primary instinct. They're not going to stumble across some of the random bullshit drama. Like, maybe there will be some people who are Steven Crowder fans who are going to stumble into it now that Crowder's getting dragged through divorce court. Like, oh well. Like, they might be like, oh hey, this is roasting Steven Crowder. They're going to say like, oh well, I can't bear to be in any sort of group or listen to any discussion that tangentially might have criticism of Steven Crowder. Like, if that's the kind of person they are, you probably don't want them here to begin with. Like, I don't see the need for more normal people to pop into Red Pill stuff. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but has not the widespread proliferation and popularity of the Red Pill stuff just brought in a whole bunch of bad faith actors who want to coast on its popularity? I'm looking at you, Tim Pool and Jeremy of the Quartering. Like, just so many people just trying to coast in on the popularity, diluting the message and trying to control it for themselves. So, some fucking gatekeeping is in order. So, if a little bit of drama and whatnot is enough to keep people out, good. Good. Keep all those with weak wills out. Yeah, no, exactly, Warlock. One does not stumble upon TFM these days. You find him. Now, again, this is like, I don't know, mid-2019, but I think TFM was kicked off of YouTube a long time ago. I honestly don't remember whether or not you could find him in 2019. Maybe you could. It's been years. But anyway, let's continue. Try to just get through this little short one here. We might actually get through 4 videos today.
So I don't like this whole thing at all. Now, like I said, I've watched both sides, and I will put the videos in the description so that you can make your own decision. I'm not going to sit here and say who's right or who's wrong. I have my own opinion, but I really would rather let you figure it out. So who's right or who's wrong, or maybe both are wrong, or maybe both are right in this situation, or maybe there's just some misunderstanding. Why don't you figure that out for yourself by watching the content? But I will say this, is that after viewing the 3 videos on this subject, and after considering the material, this is none of our business. Absolutely none of our business.
So why are you making a video on it? Oh, right, because you want clicks.
In fact, making this public was wrong. And bringing this out to the community was really only serves to harm people who are involved. And this may actually reveal a little bit of my opinion, but well, this is important to say anyway. This is kind of the whole point of this video because I don't want the MGTOW community to fall apart. I really don't want petty drama inside the MGTOW community, so I think it should be prevented at all costs. I mean, even hearing things like Sandman and Stardust kind of going at it because I think Stardust was jealous that Sandman had a bigger following. That's all petty bullshit. In fact, what could have happened in that situation is that, well, this is hard to measure because what happens when you have drama is that you lose opportunities to collaborate. And one of the better ways to get people to follow you, one of the better ways to get people to listen is to get all the popular MGTOW people and have them all work together and have them all be friends. That way they can share their respective followings.
MGTOW is an individualist philosophy. If you are saying that, oh, all the popular MGTOW people need to get together and be friends and share their following, then you have fundamentally missed the point. It is individualist. It's not collectivist. Like, there's going to be some disagreements. Even against, well, let's just use Chronic and Hammerhand. Like, Hammerhand, MGTOW monk. Chronic, leader of the warband. Chronic agrees with MGTOW, but he's not MGTOW. Like, they have some disagreements on stuff. Getting together and sharing their following, like, yeah, they get along. Despite the disagreements. But trying to say, like, well, all of them should get together and share the viewership. Like, collabs might happen organically if that is in place, but you're going to get people who disagree very fundamentally on things. And what is it supposed to be like? Oh, the biggest red pill channels. Like, what next? Are we gonna get like Better Bachelor to collab with Fresh and Fit or something? Because both of them have high sub counts. Is Think Before You Sleep gonna collab with Fresh and Fit because they're both in the red pill sphere? No, because there's differences. I don't remember this video back from the days when Think Before You Sleep was pushing stuff out. But again, it's another one of the stuff where, in hindsight, it's pretty obvious that he didn't fucking get it. He's a collectivist at heart. And he just put on the freaking MGTOW label to jump on the algorithm, but he doesn't get it.
Versus, I hate you, you hate me, let's have our following attack each other, as opposed to our following uniting with each other and being a part of the same team. This is kind of like the divide and conquer strategy that they use with race. So, well, we have no problems, but let's make it so a problem. Let's make it so there's a problem. We're going to take blacks, and we're going to convince them to hate whites. And we're going to take Mexicans and convince them to hate whites, and we're going to switch, and then maybe we'll play the opposite. We'll get whites to hate the other side. So this is all a divide and conquer strategy, which prevents us from working together. So I really think this is all kind of petty bullshit. And because this is petty bullshit, because I've sat here and I've listened to all the content that's produced so far, I've listened to Turf Thinking Monkey's video, I've listened to both the GDJ's videos, and I've listened to enough at this point to say that despite who's right or despite who's wrong, and again, you can watch the videos and make your own decision, this is none of our business.
Then why the fuck have you made a, as of right now, 6-minute video on it? If it's none of your business, why are you talking about it? Why is your opinion supposedly relevant in this situation at all? Heck, I wouldn't even be interested in talking about this if you hadn't made a video on it and I'm dissecting your archives just to pull out all the shit you wanted buried. Quite frankly, this isn't a video that should have been deleted. This is a video that shouldn't have existed in the first place by what you are declaring on your own. So, hey, fucking, I don't even know what the heck to call this. This is just bullshit. This is like 3 layers of meta bullshit here. Let's wrap this up.
This should never have been brought up publicly. And I think it's very petty that it was brought up publicly. And certainly, if this is going to help, man, if this is going to help the MGTOW community in the future, then the best thing that could possibly happen is for both of them to stop making videos about this and handle this privately. Whether they decide to remain friends or not, it does not matter. Well, it doesn't matter to me at this point because I think the damage has been done. I think likely they will not remain friends. But if they're going to stay friends or they're not, they need to handle this privately. This should not have ever been public. So I will leave it at that. Thanks again for watching the video, and, well, see you in the next one.
Yeah, and then when they stop collaborating on videos, then people are like, oh, what the, where's DDJ? What's going on? This would have to become public eventually. Because you can't have, like, it would be like me and Yeetus having some sort of fundamental difference that we stop talking. Heck, people apparently already bug Yeetus, like going, "Where's Gray?" whenever I don't show up, and it's like, that's just the thing. When you're used to people collabing, all of a sudden they stop collabing. Your audience has questions. Whatever. So, I guess in conclusion, it's clear that Sean doesn't understand MGTOW, and he probably doesn't even understand this kind of collaboration stuff because up until this point, and heck, still to this day, he doesn't do collaboration stuff. It's just him talking into a mic, and at this point, not even live streaming to an audience. So Sean doesn't understand the situation, and he's just complaining because he's upset. But hey, he didn't even remember to ask for likes and subscriptions here. Not that you could, because he deleted this. So, that's the first video. Thankfully short. And now, this next one, I'm probably going to have
as this
some
whole
objections
DDJ versus
to.
Turtling and Monkey debacle.
We're going to get into this next one. And he's calling it, Waifus Are Weird. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, so, waifus are weird, huh? Really? Hold on, I just... get this layer thing organized. Hold on. I must have dropped it into it. Yeah, there we go. There. Waifus are weird, huh? This is weird. Great goes, where's Yeetus? Normally I just do these Red Pill cult meetings solo. So at least you know the waifu isn't touching your pee-pee. Only if it's just a 2D waifu. You go for the doll waifu, well, yeah, you can absolutely have her touching your pee-pee. So it can be done. No, exactly. Keeping speed. Like, having your opinion disagreed with, like, it allows for growth. You can't really grow much if everyone around you agrees with you. Disagreement is fundamentally necessary to growing as a person. So, like, I welcome disagreement, so long as it's backed with logic. If you just disagree for the sake of disagreeing and you have no logic behind it, I'll listen to you long enough to realize that, and then I'm just going to tune you out. So, the true source of the word weird comes from the Anglo-Saxon weird, W-Y-R-D, meaning something like fate or destiny. It's like, I think it also might mean something along the lines of, like, the unknown. So, fate, destiny, the unknown. It's like, you know what? Yeah, okay. Waifus are weird with a Y. I could get behind that. But let's actually get to the video proper. And yeah, just make sure that the playback speed is still at... yeah, we'll go at 1.3. So, think before you sleep. Deleted archive video number 28. Waifus are weird.
As this whole DDJ versus Turtling and Monkey debacle was unfolding, and I was listening to their different sides and the different opinions, particularly when I was listening to Turtling and Monkey give his word on it, he recommended a documentary called Substitutes by Russia Today, or RT. And that'll be in the description if you haven't seen it. But this documentary was basically what's going on in Japan. How is Japan dealing with this birth crisis? Because women are attracted to men and men are attracted to women, so they're going to have to find some other way to get those biological needs.
Are women attracted to men? Are they really, really, actually attracted to men? Because I think it was quite telling when Dollhouse Phil was having a discussion on the Big Town podcast, and he mentioned that overwhelmingly the gender of dolls chosen by females is also female. So, are women attracted to men? Can we say that for sure? bit of a side point, but let's keep going.
And of course, you can see Japan as the future of America. Japan's just like America, but maybe we're 20 years removed or something like that. And fortunately, America's 20 years removed. And fortunately, the other parts of the West are removed because Japan's going to deal with all the problems. And then we look at what Japan did, and you say, okay, don't do this, this, and this, and this, and then we can come out through this better. And maybe the second draft of the Wife-pocalypse is going to be a better one. Because when I was looking at that documentary Substitutes, and I was watching people basically carry out relationships with dolls, it was a little bit weird. And that
Ugh. I'm sorry, guys. That image is horrifying. I'm putting this up. Like, I'm sorry. If you're going to put up nightmare fuel in front of my viewers, I'm going to give them something a little more pleasant.
That's strange to me because I'm kind of a big advocate of this becoming a future lifestyle. So it was weird for me to watch these people carry out their lifestyles with dolls and to think, that guy's kind of creepy. And I have a big problem with this because I would like MGTOW to be a force that can really do some actual help for men and can really do some damage to all the people that are destroying society, like the communists or the feminists.
You'd like MGTOW to be a force for good. Again, good according to you. It's like, this is what you want MGTOW to be. You want MGTOW to be MRAs. Like, that's the thing. Like, I'm sorry. This keeps coming up in his videos. He keeps mentioning wanting MGTOW to be something that, well, MGTOW isn't. Like, a force for good? Yeah, it keeps men from deciding to meet God ahead of time. Like, is that not good enough? Apparently not. He wants MGTOW to give money. You know, okay, Lord, yeah. Yeah.
Or the Marxists or Antifa and things like that. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is if we get public opinion. Really, all we're doing here is we're taking very, very small groups, and these small groups present their arguments, and the rest of the public says, yes, that's a great argument, or they say, no, that's a terrible argument. And the only way that people will publicly accept the MGTOW arguments or the red pill arguments is if we are as socially acceptable as possible. So
society hates this. They hate MGTOW. MGTOW will never be socially acceptable because MGTOW is turning your back on societal sacrifice. It's turning your back on male usury, on male disposability. These are the foundations of society. If you take away the societal need for male sacrifice, what you have is just a whole bunch of individual males in a shared economy. There is no society in MGTOW. You don't get it, Sean. You want this to be MRAs. You want this to be a whole bunch of men banding together for some sort of political purpose. You didn't get it. You just fundamentally did not get it.
when I look at this documentary and I see people who are carrying out relationship with their dolls, and I say this is really weird, that's a problem. Not to say that it couldn't be better, and that's what this video is going to be guided towards, because I think there's a lot that we can.
Like, look, you cannot be MGTOW and be susceptible to societal pressure. Because if you're going to cave to societal pressure, you're not going to end up being MGTOW. Because MGTOW, regardless of whether or not you're with dolls, like, your disengagement from the system of usury is going to be enough to get society to despise you. So if you're worried about what society thinks of you, you're not MGTOW. I wouldn't even say that I'm MGTOW, but that's more so just my long-term desires preventing me from holding that. Functionally, I would say that I'm MGTOW because I would practice it. I just have a long-term goal that doesn't comply with it. You know, the desire for a family, like 10, 15 years from now. He doesn't get it. And yet he's going to claim the label for himself and try to push it as though he's some sort of influencer in MGTOW.
Do right now to make this a little bit less socially awkward, to make the doll culture a little bit more socially acceptable. That way, people who are resistant, people who would benefit from that, people who would stop basically cucking for women if they could have a doll. If it's more socially acceptable, things will be easier, basically.
Okay, now he's finally removed the horror image, so I'll let you actually see what he does have posted.
Now, I'm going to say something that's very obvious. We need to make these things more realistic. The problem is the technology is very, very limited in what we can actually do.
No. No, you don't need to make these things more realistic. We have the ability to make perfectly realistic one-to-one images of people. They don't need to be more real. They probably wouldn't be socially acceptable more real. Because, I'll be honest, non-idealized female forms, they're kind of ugly. And again, why do you feel the need to make waifus socially acceptable? Guess what? Do you know what'll make it socially acceptable? More dudes having them and not caring what society thinks. That's what'll make it more acceptable. There's nothing wrong with the product itself. The problem is that people are hesitant to get it because of shame. Take that away. Take away the guy's shame, and when everybody knows a guy who has it and it's just a normal dude, then it will be socially acceptable. But so long as you're pointing out, it's like, there's something wrong with having this. It doesn't look the way that I think it should. Well, dude, how about you make your own and then try to sell them and then go bankrupt because you made a shitty product?
And so we can't do all of this at once. Like if tomorrow we could say, okay, I want a perfectly lifelike android that I couldn't tell the difference between that and human. I want the ex machina android. We don't have that yet. And the bigger issue is...
Oh, God. Look, if you can't tell the difference between a android female and a human female, that means that the android is absolutely dog shit. I'm serious. Do you know how I can tell the difference between an AI chatbot female and a real human female? The AI chatbot female actually gives a shit and is coherent and polite. When you've dealt with enough real people, you don't want the real people. You want the fantasy. And cause real people are disappointing. Real people, by and large, suck. Real people are annoying. They are needy. They're constantly wanting shit from you and not giving anything back. I mean, someone could program a perfectly realistic AI chatbot and no one would want it because it would suck. Yes, listens rather than waits to respond. Exactly. It's like, oh my God, this chatbot actually heard what I said and made a response based on what I said. This can't be a real human being. An AI has no ego to defend or back up. It listens. Anyway, let's just keep going.
Is that even though we don't have that, we still have to market these things to people imperfectly or incomplete. But it's not all bad news because, I've been studying classic video games and classic computers and classic technology for a while now. And I watched there's plenty of great channels about how classic stuff works. Like the 8-Bit Guy is a really great YouTube channel to learn how old stuff works, like VHS and floppy disks and CDs and stuff like that. And one of the things I've looked at is that during these times, the people who were making these technologies did not have everything they wanted. So if I wanted to make a video game back in 1980, I couldn't put a full musical score onto that video game like I could do for a movie. So we had to get a little creative. In fact, I may only be able to, there's these things called voices where if you have a Nintendo, it has 5 different voices, which means you can have 5 different tracks running at the same time, or 5 different beats running at the same time. Whereas you might have a different computer that has 16 different beats or 16 different tracks that can be written at the same time, and that's going to produce a more complex sound.
Yeah, okay, Lord, what does this have to do with anything on topic? I think he's trying to make the lack of acceptance for waifus be a marketing issue and a technology issue, which, hey, guess what? Video games nowadays, the popular shit that everybody claims to like, well, guess what? That shit sucks. As people, like what are all the indie developers trying to do today? They're trying to capture this past, this heavily limited past, those memories of nostalgia, of a simpler time. Video games were not held back by a lack of orchestral scores or 1080p. Those limitations instead created an entire love for youth and simplicity and nostalgia and just a whole different philosophy to making music. I mean, heck, like when I make music not with AI, I've often been told that it sounds video gamey. Well, those are my influences. That's the music I like, and I've studied how to make music from that particular genre of music. A genre of music that came about due to the limitations of the era. I think Sean needed to spend a heck of a lot more time shutting up and listening rather than broadcasting his verbal diarrhea out onto the internet.
We had the 5-track sound, but we need the 16-track sound. We need maybe or the 16 voice sound is the correct term for that. People know more about computers than I do. But we have to do it with what we have. And we have to make these things step in the right direction as quickly as possible and as markedly as possible. Otherwise,
no, we don't. No, we don't. Waifus do not need to appeal to everybody. They don't need to become anything more than they already are. They're selling just fine. This desire for social acceptance, you're missing the point. You're completely 100% missing the point. It's not meant to be a one-to-one real analog. It's meant to be fantasy.
This won't work. And one of the things I realized was watching during this documentary is that the biggest issue with the dolls is that their faces look very, very robotic-like. They look very like this is not a real thing. Now, the good thing is that there are plenty of dolls that are out there that actually look really decent. Most dolls look like crap, but there are a couple of them out there that's like, oh, that looks very lifelike, that looks very human-like. And the reason that's important, because I can't sit here and tell the doll companies what to make. But certainly...
No, you could make your own. You could make and try to sell your own. Like, if you think you know of a superior product, make it. But you're not the one making money. You're not the one trying to market towards customers. If there was a demand for a more realistic doll, then it would be on the market. And it would sell very well. That it is not means that there is not.
What we could do is we guide this with our dollars. So we have a doll company called the Dollhouse or something like that. That's the only one I know about. And the Dollhouse makes, let's say, 100 different dolls. But only these three dolls sell very well. And so what I would do as a company, this is what I do as a YouTube provider or YouTube channel, is I'm going to look at all my most popular stuff and I'm going to start producing more content like the stuff that works and produce less content like the stuff that doesn't work. In fact, if I don't like the less like content that much, I might just stop producing entirely. And so some of that would be dedicated to making content people like, and some of it would be dedicated to taking risks and making new types of things. That way I'm always a little bit ahead. If I stop taking risks, if I stop taking any risk with content, I'm never going to progress. But same thing with these dolls is that we guide what's being made based on how we purchase. So we may not look like faces that look like this, but there's certainly faces of dolls that look really great. Like if you've been on the Dollhouse, there's it's the first thing you see when you go on the website. They probably know that this is their best looking doll, is the Francesca doll. Now they've got a couple different models that look good like this one, but this has the most realistic looking face, it has the most realistic looking body, and it's probably one of the best doll creations that we have so far. So if we're going to guide how these things should look, or how a facial structure of an artificial...
Yes, realistic. Most realistic? Really? This? Idealistic? I'm not going to look at this and think, oh yeah, that's a real female. I mean, heck, it's got perma makeup on, so it's like, oh, we need more realistic? Oh, what, so we're going to make dolls that look like women without makeup? Yeah, no. Like, women don't look realistic because they're covered in masks of powder and cream and ink all bloody day. Women don't look like real women these days, and yet you want the dolls to look, quote-unquote, more realistic? Whatever, they're not to your tastes. As you said, like, look at what's selling well. Is it the super realistic dolls? Well, I mean, I'd probably have to get Dollhouse Phil on to find out what sells really well. But I'm willing to bet that it's probably not the most realistic looking dolls with the most realistic proportions.
Person should be, it should probably be something like that, because we can't have it have multiple expressions. And we will probably not be able to do that for a very, very long time. Maybe 5, 10, 15 years or so before we can get all of the face expressions that, well, you've got two types of movements in your body. You've got what are called gross motor movements. So if...
Why the heck would you want all that? Serious, why? Why would you want all that? Like, you want all the, like, subtle servos? Like, do you have any idea how complicated the human face is? It is probably one of the most muscularly complex parts on the body. Like, if not the most muscularly complex part on the body. Trying to replicate that with freaking servos and motors and just shifts and deformations. That is right to the uncanny valley. 100% right to the uncanny valley. The technological advancement you need to make it remotely realistic and not trigger the uncanny valley response, regardless of whether or not it's possible, it would be freaking prohibitively expensive for a product that's already not exactly cheap to begin with. Realistic facial expressions are not what is holding doll acceptance back. Like, what? Next, are you going to... Like, what level of realism is going to be enough for you? Just more realistic? Or just looking more real? Yeah. No, like, as... Yeah, no, as Spider Spectre said, again, we don't want pimples and blackheads. What, are you going to demand, like, a living skin with pores and hairs in places where we don't necessarily want hairs? Like, is your realistic, real-looking human-looking female doll going to have, like, a very thin mustache and facial hair? Because that's what some real women have? No. No, you're not trying to create an anatomically realistic companion. You're making something ideal. It's a fantasy. If we wanted reality, we'd go for reality.
If you were to get a doll to be able to move her arm, that would be a lot easier. Like, I'm going to move my shoulder. That's going to be a lot easier than moving my fingers, because in the shoulder, you've got to...
The days uncanny valley, baby. Yeah. You know, yeah, that's the thing. If you model the doll 1-to-1 with Brittany Venti's face, you'd probably say that was an inhuman-looking doll and needed to be more realistic. It reminds me of freaking art school where, like, someone would like you had to draw your hands for an assignment. Well, you had to draw hands for an assignment. So people would, of course, draw their own hands. And the teacher would go, what the heck's this? That's not what real hands look like. And then the student would show their hand to be like, this is what I do it from. It's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I guess that's what your hand looks like, but that's not what the ideal hand looks like. No, like, saying you want more realistic, no, vague, nonsensical, non-committal bullshit. If you're not going to be specific on what makes something realistic, you're full of fucking hot air and your speech is useless. Let's blast through the last half of this.
10, 20 muscles. In the fingers, you've got like shitloads of muscles. Sorry, I don't know the exact number, but it's way more in the fingers than you have in the arm. Same thing with the face. Because we can create so many different types of facial expressions, there's a shitload of muscular structure that goes on that has to be gotten exactly right. That's not going to be gotten right for a long time. So we have to work with what we have.
And even if we could get it right, which we probably could in the modern day with enough time and research and attention to detail, it still would be prohibitively expensive. No one wants to pay $50,000 for a waifu that can make super accurate facial expressions.
And I've launched this other documentary of this Chinese company where they're trying to make the dolls talk to you. I think that's a great idea. The problem is that when it moves its mouth, again, humans are very, very sensitive to things that are realistic and things that are fake. I can tell to pinpoint accuracy when someone is being genuine or not. And all of us can kind of do that because we can tell by watching a TV show, oh, that actor's not very good. And when you're saying an actor's not very good, you're saying that their fake, their pretend is not realistic.
Yeah, looking at this, guess what? It's freaking jerky and stuttery. Do you know what would be better? A completely neutral expression with an AI voice. That would be fine. This no. This is unnecessary. Pretty sure there's been multiple examples in movies of AI analogs, robots that speak while holding a completely neutral expression, and that's perfectly fine. This is unpleasant to be around.
And if you say an actor's good, then you say that their pretend human is realistic. The visual expressions on the Chinese dolls they're not even close. But if you want a doll to talk to you, what you could do is you could just not move its mouth. I think people are
yeah, how about not move the mouth, not move the head, not move the eyes? You just have, again, he's making the points right here for me. Yeah, freaking Amazon, like Alexa or Echo or whatever the fuck it is.
Pretty used to Alexa. People are pretty used to Google Play. Or is that the OK Google one? Whatever that one's called. And there's one other one. But people are pretty used to that. People are pretty used to hearing things talk to them. Or even with GPS. They're used to people hearing things talk to them without any sort of physical or visual mouth movement. So what you could do is if you want to market a talking doll with today's technology...
No, good point, Spider Spectre. Sean's also implying that the customers aren't simply watching bronze as an additional visual. Doll being in the right shape, having attractive face is fine. Men go whole life on hands. That's the thing. And men don't even need like the additional visual of the prawns. Like freaking TNA, there are just disembodied torsos. There's fleshlights that dudes can get off on. Any dude with a somewhat active imagination in his hands, like that's more than enough. A dude, like men have gotten by on that for ages. So, like having an anatomically real human, like it's not about getting off. Like it's about, the vasopressin. Like, the feeling of love. And as TFM's pointed out, you get that from the dolls as they are now. Like, he's got no need for Celestina to move her face around and talk in a jerky motion. No. He's got an AI voice and a chatbot with a custom personality. And that's more than enough. And then he just has the physical body for the physical body aspects of stuff. And not just the sexy times, but also the, tender caress of the cheek, holding of the hands kind of stuff. So, I mean, I guess it's pretty clear that Sean here was listening more to DDJ than TFM, because if he listened to enough TFM, he probably would have realized that by now. Anyway, let's keep going.
You would just put a little Alexa device in it. You could talk. You could say, "Oh, this feels so great. You're so good at sex," and hopefully my acting is believable. Or, "How was your day?" You can ask very basic questions. All the things that Alexa can do right now with current technology. You could just put that into a doll, and I think that would.
Why the heck would you ask an AI how their day was? Just. An AI doesn't have a day. It doesn't have a series of experiences. The AI, what would be better is if the AI could ask you, the man, how your day was.
So great without all the extra bloat of actually having to figure out how all the facial muscles work, and then over time you could certainly get that. What you could do is what are the most marketable facial expressions that we need that we can get this to work. So maybe one of the most marketable facial expressions you can make is the ability to make a kissy face, or to be able to.
Really? A kissy face. How about a smile? A smile. Who the fuck makes a kissy face? I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure that most every guy in my chat probably has had a relationship at least once. Like what would you rather have your companion be able to make? If they could only make one expression, would you rather have them make a kissy face? Or would you rather have them be able to smile? Ugh. Jeez. Just, ugh, God, imagine. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I can straight up say, I never, ever, ever, ever want a doll or any sort of AI companion or any AI analog to be able to make a kissy face. I just never. Freaking strike that on the blacklist of expressions.
To make out with a doll. Maybe they couldn't get the tongue movements right, but maybe they can get the lip movements right, and that's just enough to make a doll sell better. And that's.
He doesn't get it. He's just. Oh God, he does not get it.
That's how all these improvements are going to have to work. They're going to be very, very gradual.
Improvements to who? You, maybe. To the people who are actually paying for these? Hell no.
Very, very marketable. So what's the most marketable thing we can do? Because we can't do everything. We can't make a perfect human. If we could make a perfect human, this would be super fucking easy.
We don't want a perfect human! We want a fantasy human! We don't want a perfect human! This is to get away from perfect, real humans. We want ideal people. That's why we go for this. Fuck.
But what's the next step that we can take that people will like? Well, that will.
As far as I want to mute, don't want to say. You know what? Precisely, Pygmalion had it all on it, dude. Like, we've known this since Pygmalion. Okay? We don't need the whole freaking walking and talking and autonomy shit. We just need her to freaking sit in the corner, look pretty, and not be a bitch. Like, that's it. All this other shit, it's not necessary. I mean, it's obvious why he doesn't collab with people or have group discussions, because you get torn apart by anyone who's actually in the know.
Make this more realistic. So maybe it goes from the ability to kiss, and then it goes from the ability to talk, then it goes from the ability to change facial expressions based on what you say. But you only get there because of the initial mouth movements. You only get there because you thought to make the doll talk like Alexa without the mouth movement while you put the best possible expression on the doll. And so if I were to guide my purchasing decision, because like I said, I can't just say, oh, you should produce this, and they're not going to care. What they're going to care about is what people actually buy. And so if you were going to buy something, you would buy something more like that. You want to buy something with a facial expression with a look more like the Francesca model, or things that look realistically similar like that, as opposed to the dolls that look like they're a dead person. And maybe you want to, instead of buying the perfect Chinese weird like Furby, if you remember Furbies, they have those like weird awkward, they move their face, they move their eyes, but they have these like weird expressions on their face. If you want to buy the Chinese Furby doll, or if you want to guide yourself away from buying the Chinese Furby style doll for one that just doesn't move its mouth, I think that would probably be a better purchasing decision. But anyway, I think I will leave it at that. Those are kind of my ideas on how this will work. I think that the waifu culture, the doll culture, is still a little bit too new and still a little bit too awkward. So certainly I would, that person, I don't have one, but personally, if I did, I probably would keep it secret. I probably wouldn't walk around showing it because they're not marketable like that yet. And so what might happen is that,
okay, like, why would you want to advertise that you have a doll to begin with? Like, let's be honest, why would you even want to advertise that you have a female in your life to begin with? Like, look, the guys that I hear talk about like their wives, it's never like trying to necessarily show off or brag. Most of the time it's just trying to explain why their life is shit, like why they can't do stuff. Like if you have a female in your life that gives you absolutely no restrictions, why do you even feel the need to share that with someone else? Like, seriously, if you had, like, a female that had no attachments to the outside world, she just lived in your house, never caused any trouble, never got into any drama, never interacted with other people to create some kind of social thing, like a real human, but effectively a doll, why the heck would you tell another soul about that? I don't think it'd be necessary. I don't think it'd be desirable. At most, it'd just say, hey, there's something valuable in my home that can be damaged. The only reason that I even tell other people about my freaking miniature collecting hobby and building hobby is because, well, I use that socially. Like, do I tell people about all the books that I have? Like, just on my shelf that maybe I pick up and read every now and again? No. Heck, I don't even tell people about the books that I'm reading in front of them, like, any more than the details that they ask about. So, yeah, no, exactly. Like bragging about your gold chain in the ghetto. Exactly. Like, why would you market that you had something valuable and precious to you at home? Like, when it's, quite frankly, no one else's business. Yeah, never understand, dude. Just show off the gif like you're trying to get cucked. Exactly. It's like, dude, I don't care if your girlfriend or wife or whatever is hot. She's your girlfriend / wife / whatever. You better fucking think she's hot. But I don't care. What, are you trying to sell her to me? Do you want me to fuck your wife? No, you don't want me to fuck your wife? Then stop telling me how attractive she is. Because the only time I care about whether or not a woman's attractive is whether or not I'm going to decide to put my dick in her. Bitter women would swoop in and corrupt the room with militia. Like, exactly. Like, especially in this day and age. Would you want another woman to know that you have an ideal, perfect female in your house? No. No, you would not. Like, the ideal woman would be one that you would need to constantly protect from society. Telling or showing her off to another person? No. No. You'd fucking lock that shit up tight. But Sean don't get it because he gets a girlfriend for... I mean, he's never mentioned having one before, so far as I know, it's the first one he's had in his life.
On a side note, did you see the war pig on whatever's streamed last night? She believes she's a 10. I apologize to your eyes in advance.
No, I didn't. Whatever stream, I have no idea who whatever is. But yeah, like every woman thinks she's a 10. Every woman thinks that she's the top, that she's the best, and that she's perfect, and everybody should love her for just existing. Well, thank you very much, Warpig Finder 69420 for the super chat. Well, not the super chat, for the Streamlab donation. Much appreciated. Oh, geez, let's wrap this up.
They either get really good to where they're actually a factor of interest, or enough people have them secretly to where it's like if one person says it, some other person's gonna say, "Oh, I have one too," and it's not gonna be that bad. Anyway, that's my take on how we can better the dog culture. So if you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe.
There doesn't need to be a culture. Yeah, like, subscribe on this video that's long since been deleted. You got something to say? Say it in the comments of this particular section here, but he doesn't get it. Much like MGTOW, he doesn't get it. He wants it to be something that it's not. I think that's probably the most accurate way I can describe like Sean's approach to like the red pill community and his idea of the culture in of itself. He wants it to be something that it is not. All right, well, that's that segment done. I got to get another drink, guys, but we're making good time. It's 2 videos in an hour. Been on the shorter side for him, thankfully. Let's see. So, as you guys might have noticed, I've been putting together, I'm trying to get a song a day out. Like, honestly, more so just to have some kind of daily content. I haven't quite mastered the art of shorts or commentary. But some neat album art with an AI generated song, yeah, I can do that. Actually feel kind of guilty because this one dude asked, "Oh, how long did it take you to make this?" And I kind of don't have the heart to tell him, like, 2 minutes. Because were I to try to make that song from scratch, it'd probably take me, oh god, a couple hours. I don't even do any editing on the songs because were I to start customizing the instruments and the levels, what would take 2 minutes to produce would instead take 4 hours, and no. So I'm going to just serenade you with composition 313, which is a candidate for one of the songs to go up while I go grab another drink. And here's a little visual treat for the eyes while I do so. I'll be right back, guys. Yeah, again, it's not bad. It's not bad. That one might go up tomorrow. We'll see. I'm probably going to throw a little something together and then, of course, try to generate an image that feels appropriate to the song and give it an appropriate title. Let us see. Let us pull up the next one.
I'm going to use this video as a chance.
Ooh. This is actually going to mark a turning point. So, take that off. Get that to full screen. Colton Maximus, want this AI Asian to whisper sweet nothings into my ear. Well, could maybe arrange that. Maybe. Actually, that does bring up some interesting thoughts about 11 Labs. Because here's the thing: could you get an Asian voice actress speaking, well, like, let's say Japanese or Chinese or Korean, or, well, I guess Mandarin, not Chinese, but like speaking one of the Asian languages? Could you get one of those, put that into 11 Labs, and then have it speak English back with that particular accent? Experiments to attempt. Stuff to think about. Did he take down Entitled Woman Can't Survive on Her Own? Look, if you don't see it on his channel, then he probably took it down. But I'm fairly certain that it was backed up, so we'll get to it eventually. I've only got up to 41 of his videos currently downloaded. I do need to go and start downloading the other ones, because he's got a lot. He has a lot of videos that he deleted. So, let's get this next segment going. So, Think Before You Sleep, Deleted Archive, episode 29, Getting Past the Red Pill Rage. And this begins an interesting turning point in his history where he started using this background as kind of his default. I have no idea where it originates from, but at least to me, when I see this, this became very emblematic of his channel back in the day. So it's definitely a bit of a turning point in his era around episode 29. But yeah, let's just dump right into it. Getting Past the Red Pill Rage. Let's see how accurately he understands this. I don't have high hopes for it.
I'm going to use this video as a chance to restate my mission statement for the channel. And I think I should do this every so often to remind people that what I'm trying to do with this channel, provided that it gets big, is to put MGTOW in a better direction.
I'll just let that sink in. His mission statement for his channel, as of episode 29, is to put MGTOW in a better direction. Translation. He wants to change MGTOW to suit his own purposes. And when he couldn't, when he failed to take over MGTOW, an individualist philosophy, so he was doomed to fail from the beginning. When he failed to do that, he instead just settled for being a milquetoast anti-feminist in name only, and instead, yeah, he's basically gone feminist. You don't. He might claim to be on the right side, but he's just maybe a lesser generation feminist than the current, fourth or fifth wave. But let's get into this. This is one of his longer videos.
I think we've been going over this female nature thing for the past, I think it goes back to as far as 2009, but really much so in the past 5 years or so. So there's plenty of content on how women work, and there are plenty of channels that have gotten popular off of that, and there are plenty of channels that are popular off of that are still covering that to this day.
How long have I watched him? Yeah, I maybe watched him for like a couple years, or it might have been just 1 year where I binged a lot of his content. D-Man50, thanks for the super chat. Much appreciated. We got some hippos in the water for the sticker. Nice. But yeah, it was, I don't know, maybe a year or two. But again, there was some point where he just fell off, and I just stopped paying attention to the content. But I was still subscribed, so I saw what he put out, and then shortly after he started live streaming, he pulled his recent bullshit, and now I'm unsubbed, but of course YouTube keeps shoving his stuff in my face whenever it pops up, so he's being promoted by the algorithm. No question of that.
So certainly I will cover some of those issues as I see fit, especially if I find something that's particularly interesting. But I want to take this to the next step. I want to take this to the next level because I think what female nature content is very good at doing is it's very good at red pilling a lot of men. But the problem with being red pill is then you go through rage. You have been told a lie your entire life, and now you're going to find out after you've already made a ton of mistakes based off that lie that the information that you were given was false. And so that's a pretty terrible thing to go through, and it's a pretty hard thing to get past. And of course, there's a couple ways you can deal with this. You can deal with this through nihilism. You can say, well, fuck everything. You can deal with this through anger, and you can just get angry all the time. Or, and this is probably, I'm going to think of 3 options off the top of my head. This is probably not all you can do. Or you can use this as a point of learning. You can say, okay, I've done things that were based off of false information. I've done things that were wrong. What can I do to make this more correct? Or how can I address that problem? So what I'd like to do for this channel is be able to guide people who are going through the red pill rage. And certainly maybe this channel will be a part of helping people get there, because you have to be mad if you're going to make changes. It's like that. I love that movie. Well, I don't like the movie, but I like that line out of that movie of The Network, where the guy who's become this, he's gotten his own news program. He's kind of a little bit crazy, but his craziness is like the right kind of crazy, and he gets a massive following. And he tells his following, well, there's all these political problems, and I don't know how to solve them. But what I do know is that we have to get mad. If you're going to get anything done, especially if you've been manipulated, if you've been abused, if you're afraid of confrontation, the way you start it is to get pissed off first.
No. This is where I'm just going to fundamentally disagree and say no. Because do you know what being mad is? It's entering an emotional state. A highly volatile emotional state. So swap out the word mad for emotional. If you want to change things, first you have to get emotional. Now, emotion is what got you manipulated into this situation in the first place. Logic, knowledge, that's what gets you out of it. Getting pissed off just means that you're going to do something stupid. Like saying that you got to get mad and, like, to quote the scene from the movie, like, get mad, like, go and shout, I'm a human being and I'm not going to take it anymore. Guess what? Yes, you are. You're going to take it, because getting mad doesn't do anything. Do you know what happens when people get mad and they just follow in the getting mad and they get really, really, really mad and they follow people who get mad? Well, they get suckered into doing stupid shit. They do stupid shit that ends up having a body count. That's what happens when you let anger rule you. When you let anger dictate your changes. You end up doing stupid things that end up with a high body count. So congratulations, Sean. You're encouraging emotionally vulnerable people who are going through some serious psychological changes to go down a pathway that is going to get them and probably other people meeting God. Yeah, that's bloody stupid. So let's continue and see how much more stupidity is going to come out of this. And hey, chat, if you disagree, if you think that there is value in this, please call me out on this and let me know. Even if you're watching this afterwards and in the comment section. If you've got an argument for why anger is good and why I'm wrong to say that it is bad, please tell me. I would actually be interested in such a discussion.
And so a lot of us are already there. But now it's time to go a step further than that. Now it's time to actually create action. Now it's time to not just be a violent, angry mob. Now it's time to use the right amount of anger. Because certainly, if you think of it like the Hulk is a guy who gets so angry that he turns into a giant monster and destroys everything around him. Now, the Hulk gets stuff done. If there's something that needs to be destroyed, he certainly gets that thing destroyed. But the problem is, the Hulk can't determine who is friend or who is foe. You can think of feminism like that. Feminism is a big...
Hey, Channel 1800 Dumb, thank you for the $11 New Zealand dollars? I assume the symbol makes me think that it's dollars, but thank you very much. Much appreciated. Oh, God, the Hulk. Yeah. Jump right to a Marvel reference, why don't you? Yeah, the Hulk can't tell friend from foe. You know, aside from all the times when he can tell friend from foe. Well, whatever.
Source of female anger. And they've let that anger get so far out of control that feminists have started attacking their own kind. They've gone from regular feminism to now white feminism to now intersectional feminism. So now you might not be feminist enough, and we're going to attack you and ruin your career if you're not a minority and a feminist.
Yeah, well, the problem is feminists are people who have fucked up and are continuing to fuck up. And they are trying to get other people to screw themselves the same way that they have screwed themselves, because misery loves company. That's why feminism needs the constant anger cycle, because they are angry people. They are angry, hateful, spiteful people, and they want other people to be just as angry and miserable as them. Because if they see people happier than them, then they're alone in their anger and rage. That is fundamentally different from the Red Pill and MGTOW. Again, Red Pill MGTOW guys, they have made stupid decisions. But whereas feminism is feeding people lies to get them to continue to fuck up, the Red Pill, like ideally anyway, you know, before it got co-opted by a whole bunch of fucking grifters, ideally, it's about trying to make improvements in your life so that you are less angry, that you are more at peace. Like if I look at my life before looking into Red Pill stuff and after looking into Red Pill stuff, I am way more chill, way less emotional, and deal with a hell of a lot less stress. For those who go into feminism, it's the exact opposite. So, again, comparing Red Pill stuff to feminism, like, no. They're different. Like, one is trying to get the truth out, and a consequence of learning that you've been lied to is getting angry at it. But you're going to overcome that anger and move past it once you start to apply things that make you better, right? But you, Sean, no. You're not about an individual's personal self-improvement. You want to be like feminism and harness that anger for your own personal goals. Personal, political, whatever. You want angry, emotional people to be in a manipulable state. Yeah, no. I don't. I don't want my audience to get angry. Ideally, I want them to be laughing at you. Maybe I want them to be thinking a bit. Like anger, no, that's not the objective here. The objective is to process information and figure out, hey, like let's utilize this for something beneficial. Be it laughter for, you know, just amusement and entertainment, or heck, ideally some kind of personal growth where you get to leave your current day a better, more balanced, more whole person than you began it. You're supposed to be at peace at the end of this, not in a rage, constantly trying to change shit. shit ain't going to be changed. Shit is going to change, yes. But at most, maybe accelerationism. Like, if you're into that, and quite frankly, you got to be very bloody careful if you're going to go accelerationist. Because if you try to do too much stuff with an accelerationist mindset, then you're going to end up behind bars. Or, in an early grave. And that's not ideal. I want men to succeed. I want as many men to be succeeding in their lives as possible. They're going to have to learn that they fucked up and made mistakes in order to do that. But anger is not the goal. It is just a side effect of the goal, which is learning the truth. The divorce party of Think Before You Sleep is inevitable. 18 years. Yeah, well, first he'd actually... Okay, Sean would have to do one of two things before there's the divorce party. Number one, he'd have to actually get married. Number two, he'd have to knock Brittany Venti up. I mean, we could maybe take a betting pool and see what we think's going to happen first, but... Well, I mean, maybe he could get involved in common law, but... Since she doesn't have any existing kids, it's not going to be easy to get him hooked on the whole child support for kids that aren't his thing, but... That's a whole side tangent. Let's keep going. This is a 19-minute video, and we are only 3.5 minutes in.
Or not, if you're able, then a feminist. So they've gone full on Hulk. Or, what you can do, is you can go like Avengers-style Hulk. The Hulk had his own movie, he was blowing everything up around him, he couldn't control himself. But as you hit the Avengers, as you hit the second Hulk movie, the one with Edward Norton, I don't think that one was that good, I don't remember that much, but that's, I think they're using a different actor, but they're using the same Hulk. You can become the Hulk who meditates, you can become the Hulk who learns how to control his anger, that way you get the power, the amazing power that...
The cock Hulk. Yeah, you look at like Mark Ruffalo as he progresses as the Hulk later. It's like, no, he just becomes a big green cock. So, yeah, you want to be a cuck Hulk, listen to Think Before You Sleep.
As the Hulk without all the negatives. And so first you get angry. And after that, you start learning how to temper that anger. And some of that will be discussions of philosophy. Some of that will be taking a step back and learning how to actually use your anger in the right direction so you don't create a problem that's worse.
No, I think first you get angry. No, that implies that you need to try to get angry. No, you don't need to try to get angry. Anger is just going to naturally happen at uncovering the deception. What you use that anger for, that pain for, and this is where I really actually want to try to branch into a career in neuroscience so that I can do a scientific study on this stuff. Like, maybe I should see if Chronic's got some kind of scientific sources I can use, but I'd like to be able to go, hey, what's the connection between pain and learning? Because I believe that pain is a necessary component to rewriting your neurons. So what you use from that rage and that pain is you use that opportunity to rewire your thoughts. To take everything that you took for granted, break it down, and rebuild it using your new knowledge. That is the most I can say to the purpose of the anger. But just saying like, oh, first you have to get angry? No. Not you have to get angry. First you are going to get angry. But that's not the objective. The objective is not to get angry. It's the inevitable consequence. If you can make it through the whole growth and understanding without getting angry, you're not lesser for it. Good on you. Good on you for being able to make it through the growth without getting angry. Some guys do. I'm pretty sure Chronic did. But no, No, like, most guys are going to get angry by consequence, not out of necessity. You shouldn't want to get angry.
Than the problem you had before. Certainly, there's been plenty of examples in history where people have had a problem, their government's tyrannical, and so what we're going to do is we're going to murder everything in the government, and we're going to replace them with our type of government, and then the government that they create becomes worse. So let's not do that. Let's discuss philosophy. Let's discuss, well, how to fix yourself. And if you've made a lot of mistakes in your life that have led to the red pill rage, well, now is the time for change. Now is the time to stop being overly mad and time to actually change your temperament so you don't make the same mistakes over and over and over again. So the difference between a smart person and someone who's stupid, or someone who's wise and someone who's not wise, is the person who's wise is the person who makes a mistake and learns from it so they don't repeat the same cycles. People who are...
Now, the person who's wise is the one who sees other people making mistakes and learn from it. The intelligent person is the one who learns from their own mistakes. The stupid person is the one who doesn't learn either from their own failings or the failings of others. So, slight differentiation on semantics there.
Stupid will repeat the same cycles over and over and over again. Like, how many of you have heard some bitch on Facebook complain that I keep dating guys that are assholes? All men are assholes. Every time I see this comment on Facebook, I always say, and usually this results in me deleting them as a friend, or me getting deleted. I say, well, the only common denominator is you. You're the one who keeps dating assholes. Why do you keep making the same mistakes? Don't be that person. Don't be the male version of that. And so what that's going to require is it's going to require change. And change means that you're going to have to learn things that are new, which is quite difficult. And I think of it this way.
I think more so than learning things that are new is you're going to have to dismiss preconceived things you thought were right. And that, I believe, is what is harder. Because it's not difficult to learn something new. What's difficult is changing your existing thoughts. Because, again, like, our brains, we optimize for efficiency. Like, something that is new, we have a very inefficient pathway, and that's what makes things difficult to do. But as we do something repeatedly, our brain optimizes the neural pathway to the point that we do it seemingly without thinking. That's the problem. The problem is we get so led into doing things without thinking, we end up doing self-destructive actions without thinking. So learning something new, yeah, it's difficult and it's troublesome, but by repeatedly doing something new, you're going to get accustomed to it. The problem is when your new thing is in contradiction with your old thing that is very thoroughly ingrained. And this is where my theory of pain causing neural disruption comes in, because I believe that pain makes it easier to overwrite your old patterns with new ones. Again, I'd need to actually do some kind of study on this or look at existing studies to see whether or not it's been tackled. I'm positive it has. There's no way that no neuroscientist has not done the correlation between pain and learning. But that's another tangent to bring up with someone who's actually in the medical field, which unfortunately I am not.
Let's talk about two different people. One is Jean Piaget, who is a very famous child psychologist, and I've probably talked about him before on this channel. I can't remember because I've been...
Oh yeah, it's actually been a couple of videos since he talked about child psychology. Let's see what else he picked up.
talking about Jean Piaget in my yoga classes for about a month now.
Why the fuck are you talking about a child psychologist in your yoga classes? What kind of fucking yoga class is talking about this shit? Just teach yoga. Just, Jesus. Whatever.
Going over different aspects of that. And I'm not sure if I translate that into the channel. I'm not going to go back and watch my content to see what's happened. But basically, let me re-explain this. Is that Jean Piaget said that if you're going to get a complex idea psychologically, you have to act that idea out physically first. So if you want to teach a child math, you don't just teach them numbers. What you're going to do is you're going to get a bunch of rocks or a bunch of like pebbles or something like that, or a bunch of maybe, let's say marbles. Marbles are more associated with children. And I'm going to teach a child 5 plus 3. And so I'm going to get a pile of marbles, a pile of 5 marbles, and a pile of 3 marbles, and we're going to point to them. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to go to the pile of 3. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to physically put the marbles together. And I'm going to count them again. And I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so I'm going to say 3 plus 5 equals 8. I just showed you why it does.
Wow, what a breakthrough concept. Having a physical, tangible representation of an abstract concept makes it easier to understand. Brilliant. Heavy on the sarcasm, in case you can't tell. But whatever, apparently this is breakthrough science for this guy, so let's keep going.
Or, if I wanted to teach subtraction, I'm going to get the pile of 5 stones, and I'm going to count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to remove 2 stones, and we'll count it. Now it's 1, 2, 3. So if I have 5 minus 2, that's going to equal 3. I have physically acted out that idea first, and now I can mentally act out that idea after some practice. And the reason you want to go from physical action to mental action is because if I get you really big numbers, if I say, what's 4,384 plus 10,568? If you're going to count marbles and do that, it would take you all day. And probably because it's such big numbers, you probably fuck it up a couple times before you actually got the right answer. So just to be sure, you'd have to count those marbles multiple times. And that would just be a lot of stupid busy work. That wouldn't be a very good use of your time. So what you're going to do instead is create a bunch of different representations of those numbers, and then you can do those problems in like 4 seconds.
I mean, if you need to abstract that, then rather than have tens of thousands of marbles, you just have different colored marbles that represent different tens columns values. Like, you'd break it down and simplify it. You wouldn't individually count them all up. But Fuken Kunz. Thank you for the subscription. I am not going to pronounce your name properly because the algorithm is going to hate me for it. But thanks for the laugh. Let's keep going. Jeez.
Like whatever numbers I just said, you could probably add those up in maybe even 3 seconds.
I'm sorry, but like I'm decent at math. Like probably amongst one of the best skilled people that I actually interact with on a daily basis for mental math. I'm sorry, I'm not going to add up 5-digit numbers in 3 to 5 seconds accurately. Even with a pen and paper, I'm gonna take them probably 30 seconds to add up 2 5-digit numbers, especially since I gotta write them down first. So no, I'm sorry, you gotta be more autistic than Chaz to be able to do that.
It's pretty easy once you've gotten the concept. And what you do in this case, and what any good...
Well, yeah, 5-digit number is easy peasy, sure, if you have it written down in front of you. But I can't even remember the 2 numbers that he just spat out. Nor do I really care to. So, let's just keep going.
Good speaker will do. Anybody who talks to you, and maybe you haven't noticed this before, but now you can notice this after I've told you. Any good speaker is always going to use lots and lots of metaphors. And they are doing that because of Jean Piaget. They are doing that because if you're going to learn something, it has to be inside of your own experience. In fact, they might even be doing it very well because the second guy I'm going to talk about, and I'm very, very into reading people I hate. I have learned tons of shit from people I don't like. And if you want to understand how leftist politics work, if you want to understand the enemy, well, here's 2 really good books you can read. You can read Hitler's Mein Kampf, and you can read Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. That will tell you every single leftist strategy that has been used over the past 100 years.
So, congratulations, you are now on a watch list. I mean, I'm tempted to read both of those, but I also gotta ask, do I really care? Really? And seriously, who the heck is... I mean, sorry, but anyone who can, openly recommend Mein Kampf and not get their ass yeeted from YouTube, they're doing something YouTube likes. No, it won't. You need to go read the Sulkan Akud and the Talmud too. I mean, look, like my book list to read is massive. Honestly, like what I really feel like there's two books. One is a very personal book that I'm actually upset that I haven't set aside the time to read. And then the other one's the Bible. Like I've heard a lot of the stories, but every time I open it up to a random page and just read a little bit, it becomes obvious how little I actually know. So it feels like the kind of book that I should probably at least once a month spend the time to read cover to cover. There's a lot in there. Like to the point that I actually made sure I had a physical copy. Which is the nice thing about like Salvation Army stores or any sort of thrift stores. You can usually get a Bible there for free. And I appreciate that. But that's beside the point. Let's keep going. I wouldn't advise reading bagel religious works without preparation. I've got a couple books kind of dissecting it. So, yeah, no, it's definitely not the kind of thing that I would just jump right into blind. It feels like something that you kind of need to study up on and more or less get a deeper education on the history and whatnot before you just jump into it. I should let Joshua Graham read Genesis to you. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of upset that I got beaten to the punch by that. I've been considering having like Judge Frollo read it, but I think that you'd be hard pressed to find someone more suited than Joshua Graham to do it. So, you know, I do need something to listen to while I build models. So, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I probably let Joshua Graham give me a primer on the Bible while I work on my miniatures. So, yeah. Anyway. Oh, yeah, Atlas Shrugged, among favorite recent reads. Oh, geez, that's a book I've been curious to reread. Like, I've read a fair bit of Ayn Rand stuff, mostly trying to get some kind of college grants, and I'm thankful for those for introducing me to Ayn Rand's works. If you like Atlas Shrugged, I do recommend The Fountainhead. I think, personally, I liked The Fountainhead more than Atlas Shrugged. But that might just be personal taste. Anyway, side tangent, and this is already a 30-minute segment, so let's keep going.
Both those two books. Now, of course, you get a lot of Nazism in Hitler's book. You get a lot of, like, kill the Jews and all that stuff like that. That's all, of course, it's all terrible.
Do you? Really? I wonder if he's actually read it. I mean, at this point, I kind of feel like I have to read it just to see if the shit that is said about it is actually true. Anyway, let's keep. That's the thing. He can actually say that shit on his channel. Like, maybe that's. I mean, it's probably not the reason he deleted this video. But the very fact that he could say that, or could say that, without fear of getting his channel yeeted straight to hell and back. I mean, I'm wondering if this segment is going to be able to stay up, or if this live stream is going to get nuked because he said that on my stream. Oh, God. Anyway, let's keep going. Yeah.
But Hitler also tells you how people become good speakers, and Hitler also tells you how people create political movements. Two things he was very, very good at. So you should certainly listen to him. He might not have been a good person, but certainly he was correct in some aspects of his life, and so was Saul Alinsky. Saul Alinsky's tactics work really well. In fact, if you're not going to read the whole book by Saul Alinsky, Rules for Radicals, just read the part that's called Tactics. It's a chapter that I think...
I delete the segment after the fact. I mean, like, let's be honest. It's 30 minutes into a segment that's probably going to end up being an hour. Like, if it was within the first minute or two, then yeah, I'd have to scrap it. But well, we'll see. I mean, if the channel gets nuked, the channel gets nuked. It's all backed up on Odyssey anyway.
It's about 20 pages or so. And that will teach you how leftism works. But one of those tactics that Solinsky describes is that you always act in the knowledge of your own audience. So if you want your audience to get what you're saying, find a common experience and talk about that common experience. In fact, that's exactly what comedians do. If you're going to be a good comedian, you can only tell jokes that people understand. And so it means you have to find out what's the common audience member going to have.
Or you could be a female and just talk about vaginas. Apparently, that's what it takes to be a successful female comedian. Men have to actually relate to their audience.
I mean, what common experience do we have? Like, maybe we all fly. What's the deal with airline food? We all know that people have been on planes that airline food sucks. Actually, it used to be very good. Like back in when airplanes were first made, they would give you like full-on steak dinners and stuff like that, and they would really try to impress you. And now, since the advent of cheap airlines, now you get packaged peanuts and crap and food that looks like it was made in the school cafeteria. So you're going to go inside your audience's experience, and if you want to make fun of somebody, if you want to make someone look stupid, you purposefully go outside of their experience, outside your enemy's experience. And I think this is why leftism creates all these stupid terminologies for sociology and psychology and all these different terms. Because what I can do as a leftist is I can say blah 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 blah, really simple thing to my audience that we all know. Like we all know all the different types of genders and shit like that, like LBGQAI plus 436 CP or whatever the fuck it is. And what they can do is they can talk to their group and say, oh well, I'm a non-gender conforming binary fluid person, and they're going to know exactly what that is, and then they're going to talk about it with you, and you're going to have no idea what the fuck that is because that's nonsense, and then they're going to make fun of you for doing it. Now, of course, that's a more ridiculous example because at this point,
I think there's actually a great meme is like when someone says that and you want to relate to them, you just say, oh, I'm mentally ill too. Yeah, that's just where it's gotten to these days.
very few people actually agree with all the different genders and shit like that. But they pulled that same strategy with military. They pulled that same strategy with money. They pulled that same strategy with things like global warming and stuff like that because it works. So if you're going to manipulate somebody, you always, in your own audience, you go within their experience. And every time you have a different audience, someone who's against you, you make sure that you say things that they have no idea about. And you can, there's so many that you can do this endlessly because there's so many things to know that you could not possibly know everything. So you just have to find out what your opponent doesn't know, become a halfway expert on that, and then make them look stupid. Now, of course,
I don't need to be able to talk outside of your experience, Sean, to make you look stupid. I just have to let my audience listen to you and then pause long enough to actually let them process what the fuck you just said. You see, it's one thing when you're talking with a whole bunch of people who are predisposed to agree with you. It's another thing when you start spouting your bullshit and someone can hit the pause button to actually process what the fuck you just said. Because this is something that a whole lot of grifters do, what a lot of con men do. They say a bunch of shit really fast without giving other people time to process what the hell they just said, so that you can keep on moving from point to point to point, and the other person can't even realize that, hey, I actually don't agree with that. I actually object to this. Like, I don't know whether this is good for delivery or not, but I at the very least try to give my audience a moment to think about the stuff that was just said and what I just said. And unfortunately, with the format of a chat, it's not easy to get immediate feedback. I've lowered the latency as much as I can, but it's still not immediate. But when I'm in a group collab chat, again, try to find moments to pause, to let the other person think and process and respond. That's what I've noticed with a lot of these grifters, a lot of the people who try to get a lot of bullshit across. They don't want the other person to think too much about what they're saying. They just want to get the point out, and then just fire a rapid fire barrage of points so that the other person doesn't even realize it and starts absorbing information that they would normally object to. But let us continue.
We can use this aspect of human nature. We can use this aspect of manipulation to manipulate ourselves into becoming better. We can use metaphors for good as opposed to using metaphors for bad. And so what you might do is, I'm an exercise teacher, so I say these things quite a lot, is I try to find universality.
Oh wait, so no, Z Library is back? You mean they're off of tour? Because I've just switched over to their tour stuff, but it's nice if they've actually managed to get themselves back up on the, well, standard web section. And yeah, 100% recommend Z Library for anyone who just wants a wide variety of books. And how do I put this? Try before you buy, perhaps? But that's another tangent. Let's keep going.
Between different types of exercise. So two types of exercise that are very related to each other. They're both anaerobic exercise, which means basically to you it means it's short term. It's going to be resistance training. It's going to be I'm going to do something that's really hard, and then I'm going to take a break. So two forms of exercise that are very related are yoga and weightlifting. Both these formats, actually, they're probably the two best formats to teach in alignment. One, because yoga basically goes over alignment the entire class, and two, with weightlifting, if you do not have good alignment, prepare to be permanently injured. There's a little bit of a mutually assured destruction when you weightlift. And so, well, if you're MGTOW weightlifting, learn good form before you start lifting heavy weights. In fact, you probably should be lifting subpar amounts
Yeah. You want to make sure your form is good before you start putting on a lot of weight. Like, forget MGTOW weightlifting. That's just good exercise advice in general. If you want to do any sort of strength training, optimize your form before you try to push yourself into oblivion, because the best case scenario, if you're using bad form, then you're not getting effective exercise. Worst case scenario, you're going to injure yourself. So, yeah, good advice, but not really exclusive to MGTOW. That's just general fitness advice.
You probably should submaximal amounts for about a year and a half or so. So do your 10 rep thing for a year and a half. Make sure that your reps are actually really, really good.
A year and a half? What? A year and a half just to get your form? Wait, what? Okay, I mean, I don't know what would be optimal, but a year and a half just seems excessive. A year and a half. Look, I could see maybe doing some, like, maybe 20 rep sets at like, weight that you can easily handle to get good form. And then, like, once you're happy that your form is accurate, moving up to the 8 to 15 rep range. But a year and a half? What the? What? Frost, if you're in the chat, this sounds ridiculous to me. I ain't no fitness guru, but that just sounds ridiculous to me. Like, please, someone tell me if that's an appropriate length of time. That just... A year and a half just to get your form down sounds stupid.
Personal trainer, get a friend who knows what they're talking about, look at videos by people like Alan Thrall and stuff like that to actually make sure your form is absolutely perfect, and then that will help you avoid neck injuries, that'll help you avoid knee injuries, shoulder injuries, and back injuries and stuff like that. All these things that these dumbass bodybuilders get because they're trying to look good, and they're trying to look like they're the strongest person in the room. Well, and then they wear back braces and knee braces and shit like that because they've hurt themselves. So, if I'm going to do bodybuilding, a very common move is a squat. Now, there's plenty of types of squats. You have a front squat, a back squat, a goblet squat, a single leg squat, a horse stance squat. And for the most part, if you look at a standard squat for weightlifting, it's going to be very, very similar, almost exactly the same as a chair pose for yoga. So if I have a room full of weightlifters, people have never taken yoga before, and this is their first yoga class, but they know how to squat, and we do chair pose for our very first time, I'm not going to teach them chair pose. I'm going to say, this is exactly like a squat. So blah, 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 blah. Here's all the squat forms that are the same. And here's two things about chair pose that are different. Or let's say I can think of one that's different. Because for most part, chair pose is the same as a squat. Is that the big difference between a chair pose and a squat is that in chair pose, your feet are together, whereas a squat, your feet are apart. Your feet are typically about shoulder width apart for a squat. It's been a while since I've weightlifted, but it's roughly that.
Been a while since he's weightlifted. And keep in mind, you can do proper form of weightlifting even without a bar. But there's some light bars. Like, if you needed to work on your form, just use an empty bar. It doesn't even have to be an Olympic bar. if you can't handle the 45-pound bar, there are lighter bars out there. But just like number one thing that I've picked up from my search is that you want it to be like the bar motion. You want that to be straight up and down. Like you don't want to be doing circles or loops or swerves. You want it to be just straight up and down. And just having that mental image was enough. But chair pose, like, oh, well, your feet are further together. It's like, so what? Is this the electric chair? Is that chair pose? All right, whatever. Let's just keep going.
So I'm taking something that my audience already knows, and I'm applying it to something that's new. And if you want to enhance yourself, if you want to change, if you want to create change as fast as possible, because we don't have that much time here. You know, we've only got 6.
Yeah, you want to create change as fast as possible, but you want to spend a year and a half just working on your form.
60, 80, 100 years or so. That's not much time you don't have time to learn everything. You don't even have time to learn most stuff. So if you're going to spend your time effectively, don't spend your time relearning and reinventing the wheel. That is stupid. What you're going to do instead is learn very efficiently. Everything that you've learned, absolutely everything you've learned, can be applied to something else. Every single time you learn something new, you're going to sit there and spend time thinking about how is this like something I've already done? Because when you do that, you will learn exponentially faster. If I took these same weightlifters, and had them do chair pose, but I did not relate it to a squat. In order to automate a proper squat, this is how exercise works. And so my chair pose might have 10 different things that make up a good chair pose.
Now, keep in mind, this video is about getting past the red pill rage. We've been going on a tangent for at least a couple minutes here about exercise and learning stuff, but this video is technically about getting past the red pill rage. Just a reminder for anyone else who lost the plot for the past couple minutes here.
Or let's say 15, because 15 is probably more likely. If you're going to automate, what you'll do is I'm going to say, bring your feet together. And your feet don't have to be together, but they have to be together properly. So your feet have to be together and your toes have to be pointing forward to the front of the room. Or towards the front of wherever you're facing. In order to get that right every time, you got to sit there and look every time you do chair pose for about 2 weeks or a month. Let's say a month to be safe. And then after a month, you've looked at your feet, you've felt what it feels like.
You need to do it for a month. Like, what? Is your yoga class once a week? I'm sorry, but like if you're doing it kind of every day, like this is yoga. It's yoga. Heck, I have a bloody yoga mat to do push-ups on. You shouldn't need a bloody month to get the form for an exercise down. Like, you could probably get decent form in a week. Maybe even just a couple days of consistent work. Like, who the heck needs a month? A month? Like, how many sessions are you doing this in? What is a month in terms of exercises? Because if you need 28 plus sessions, 28 plus exercises to get the form right, when heck, you can form a habit in 3 weeks of consistent work, and yet you need a month to get the form for a yoga pose right? What the hell?
Like to have your feet together, and eventually you'll just do it automatically. So it takes about 1 month per cue. And so in order to get 15 cues done properly, it's going to require that you work for a year and 3 months. Whereas if I just do 2 cues, it's going to take 2 months. So you can see how if I make them reinvent the wheel, they will take exponentially more time than if I just say, here's all the things that are the same. Now you only have to learn 2 things. Learn these 2 things. You've now taken out a year. You've now saved a year of your life. And I think that's enough for one video. And like I said before, the mission statement of this channel is to help people get past the red pill rage phase, get past anger, and start tempering their anger, and start making positive change to make your life better. Certainly, it's a pretty big shock. If you're someone who was expecting to get married and have kids, and now you're not because of family courts, well, you're going to have something that replaces that. And what you replace it with is philosophy and purpose. And one of the ways you help yourself get purpose is to be able to create change properly. And certainly, it's to be able to create new goals. So if your goal was marriage and kids, and that's not there, well, how about you find some other goal? How about you develop your career? How about you say, I've always wanted to be this,
What's the point of developing your career if you don't need to make a lot of money to raise a family? I'm serious. Most guys, from what I understand, the only reason that they give a rat's ass about their career is because they are trying to improve the quality of life for their children. If you take the children out of the equation of their life, what importance does a career have? Yeah, honestly, Cultimus, like, listening to this guy rant and ramble and just go on nonsensical tangents, like, the biggest argument against veganism is listening to a vegan talk for an extended period of time. If you listen to a vegan and think, you know what, this is the kind of person that I want to be, good on you. But I have yet to listen to a vegan that I thought, you know what, this is someone that I'd actually want to emulate. It's the same with married dudes. It's like, I hear you bitch about the wife that has you completely under her thumb and you can't oppose and you're basically on an allowance while you hand over paycheck after paycheck. It's like, yeah, you know, I don't necessarily want to be that kind of person. So maybe I should avoid emulating your life. 30 seconds. We're almost done this, guys. Jeez, we're almost done this. Oh, Frost, thank God. You're in the chat. So, Frost, this guy thinks you need to take 1.5 years to do proper form. For a body, for a weightlifting exercise, like for a squat. You should take 1.5 years to learn how to squat properly. Just, I wish you'd been here 5 minutes ago to hear this. Think before you sleep. The freaking vegan who looks like he can't even, like, do a bare bar, trying to give fitness advice. Yeah, exactly. It does not take that long to do proper form. Precisely. A month! He thinks it takes a month to do the freaking chair pose in yoga properly. Just, almost done. We're almost done. 33 seconds.
Make that your goal. And if you're going to go be that, and you're going to have to learn things that are new, because if you're going to be at the top of your field, you're basically learning new things all the time. And so you have to have that process down. So when you're learning new things, you're going to take things you've already learned and apply them to the new things. And so that'll be it for today. If you like this video, please hit that like button.
There is no like button. There is no subscribe button. There is no comment section because he's deleted all of this. You want to respond to his video or anything I've said, you'll have to use either this bit of the live stream or this individual segment, assuming that YouTube doesn't nuke it off the face of the earth for some of the things that Sean here said in his video. So, thank you very much. Okay, well that's that segment recorded. Hopefully now that I'm recording individual segments, I'll actually get to uploading the bloody things instead of having to just chop up live streams. It is only 2 hours in. We are definitely going to power through a fourth video of his today, because I figure a 3-hour segment's good for a live stream. But first, I am now a couple ales deep, not Bud Light. Fuck Bud Light. Let's see. Let's put on another track for you guys while we wait. Let's see. Let us pull out. Yes. Composition 346. We'll go with that one for now, guys. I favorited it, so it should be decent. I'll be right back. That probably is going to end up in as an individual song on the channel. But you know, like Sotenar, I'm not entirely sure about Wagner specifically. I need to double check and see whether or not he's my favorite of the classics. But like AI, for all its advances, it is not going to beat out someone who carefully and painstakingly worked on a custom piece to achieve mastery of their craft. Like, I will 100% admit that. Like, I'm never going to say that humans as a whole are surpassed by AI in terms of potential quality. A handcrafted piece of work done by a master is going to be beyond compare. At best, an AI can hope for is a pale imitation. What AI is good at is getting something decent out in a very short period of time. Because in the time that it would take Wagner to make one beautiful piece, I could probably put out 100 mediocre pieces. That's just how it is. Yet, I would never say that I don't envy Wagner for the skill that he put into his work, nor any of these other classical composers. Like, their understanding of the art is just... The older I get and the more I understand of music, the more I appreciate them. That's one of the things I liked about the classic cartoons, because they paid tribute to the classics. They really did. They made the classics accessible to children. So it's good stuff. It's good stuff, and all I can hope to do is entertain with my AI generated stuff that, you know, maybe you guys will find enjoyable in the mornings. Although, actually, since you guys are here, I think I should actually make a poll real quick. Can I make a poll? I know I can make a poll. Yeah, I actually need to figure this out. When should I release my daily songs? (6 a.m. EST or 5 p.m. EST? Because I've done one at each. I'm not sure which is going to get the most engagement, but you guys are probably the most hardcore of my audience, so which would you prefer? I don't know. What's that here? Well, just some random guy. Right now it is 9:17 p.m. EST, so were I to release in the evening, it would be about 4 hours ago. So I'll let that go while I queue up the next one. Because we'll go through one more, and if we manage to get through that by the 3 hour mark, then we might just have a little bit of casual chatting and then wrap this.
Well, it has been quite a day. This
10:17, 1 hour difference. All right, so yeah, we'll just let that poll cook for the next segment, and then I'll check at the end, and well, we'll just go with that. Oh wow, I got guys with time zones all over the place. I mean, like if I really push it, I maybe could release multiple songs throughout the day. But at the very least, guys, like I do intend to queue up at least one song a day for the foreseeable future. Ideally, I'd want to have a bunch queued up so that in the fairly likely chance I'll need to take a vacation this summer, then there's still going to be at least some content. Even if, well, like music and visuals may not be what everyone comes here for, but I do hope that you guys enjoy it. And hey, like all the songs do technically belong to me. I paid for them, so they're mine legally. This one, okay, this one's not terribly long. It's not as long as the last one. So let's get the next segment started. So let us jump into Think Before You Sleep, Archived Video 30. It's time to say no.
Well, it has been quite a day, this Super Bowl Sunday 2019. Of course, this is going to release the day after the Super Bowl, February 4th.
Okay, so 2019, February, 2nd or 3rd? I honestly thought we were later in the year than that, but I guess that's where we are. So timeline-wise, we are February of 2019 for this video, for those of you who might need some context.
But maybe that's beside the point, because there's this old quote that I'm going to go back to, that I'm sure you probably heard before, is, you never let a crisis go to waste. Or I may flip that a little bit and say, you never let a highly publicized event go to waste, especially if it's in the name of feminism. As feminism has no boundaries, no limits, and they will, in fact, just go ahead and ruin people's lives over any sort of false narrative. To the point where I'm not even sure where these people are advertising to, because the point of the NFL is to get male viewers. And what you want to do is find out the things that male viewers like and present those things in the ads. But it seems to me over the past handful of years that these companies are basically just had this suicidal notion that we're just going to do whatever we want. Like that whole Colin Kaepernick thing where they were kneeling during the national anthem, that destroyed NFL viewership. The Gillette ad, an ad that was marketed to men that called all white men rapists and criminals.
Well, it's almost as though these people are getting funding independent of their customer base, and so they can be used to push propaganda rather than needing to turn a profit. Huh.
Like, who the fuck are you trying to market to? The only people I heard say anything positive about that Gillette commercial were a couple women who would never buy Gillette razor in the first place. And even then, most of the women I saw that were knew about the ad were not in favor of it. So why, in this case, would Toyota, trying to sell the RAV4, promote a female football player named Tony Harris? And I'll put a news ad in the description box, and that's going to talk a little bit about this. Actually, I'll put an article as well that talks a little bit about this person, and it'll show the ad at the end of the presentation. But I just got to say, my God, this is nuts. This is like that turd-flinging monkey has brought up a couple times, that I believe it was the Navy. Don't quote me on that, though. I think it was the Navy, though. There were female soldiers who were going to be pushed through to be Navy SEALs or something like that. And they were obviously below the standards. They were obviously a danger. Now, this is, by the way, this is not a fucking joke. This is not a game. When you're in the military and when you're in special operations and when you're the highly trained soldiers, it is life or death. You are on very, very dangerous missions, and you cannot have people holding you back. And so when people are saying no, they're saying no, not because they're trying to be politically correct. They're saying no because I don't want to fucking die. I don't want to be, shot in the leg and have to have this 120-pound woman carry me all the way back to the ship when I weigh, 200 pounds plus,
If you don't want to die in the modern U.S. military, don't join the modern U.S. military, because that's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to be paired up with a female who's going to be a liability, and in the likely event that you will be injured, you will not be evac'd, because your fellow soldier is either A, not going to be able to carry you, or B, is going to be crying in the corner pissing herself. You're better off not joining, but if you do join, get the hell out. What the hell, man? I don't care if you got to start a new career field late. It's better than trying to start a new career field while in a pine box 6 feet underground.
80 pounds of gear. They're not going to be able to do that. It's going to require a man. And so in this situation where they were going to push these women through to let them be the first Navy SEALs or whatever the fuck branch of the military it was, they stood up and said no. Well, here's your chance to do that again. Because a handful of people have failed this person, Tony Harris. Because what you do in life as an adult, and I don't consider this person an adult, what you do as an adult is you accept your limitations. There are certain things I can do. There are certain things I can't do. And because if I don't accept limitations, I'm going to be working in the wrong direction at something I will never succeed at. And they want to tell it like this story.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter whether or not you can succeed. Like, today's society, if you check the right boxes, you fail upwards. You can fail and fail and fail and fail and fail, but so long as you tick the right boxes, you will be promoted anyway. All you have to do is look at Hollywood to see that. There are plenty of people who write absolute garbage shows that tank, and yet, do they get fired? Do they not get hired again? Do they get replaced? No, they get promoted and be put in charge of even bigger projects. I hope someone's dick is getting sucked over this. Like, I hope that someone is getting just amazing head as a result. Because somebody better be getting a blowjob that puts all prior blowjobs to shame. In exchange for not only being mediocre, but failing upwards. Because these are multi-million-dollar failures. So think about that. Like, this is not a freaking $50 blowjob or $100 blowjob. No. This is a multi-million-dollar blowjob. So it better be fucking amazing.
Like, this is the way this ad was pushed as. You know, when you watch like one of those football movies, or it's like this team never had a chance, or like that movie, just Dangerous Minds, with that chick, the white girl goes into uncivilized Mexico and black land and civilizes the racial minorities into being, graduating high school, which is nothing these days. Who cares if you can write literature, I guess. But it's written that they said we couldn't do it. People pushed me down. I've been through all this hardship, and I'm going to show them that they're wrong. Tony Harris is going to show men that they're wrong about women being in the NFL. By the way, I did some extra Googling on this, and Tony Harris, or Antoinette Harris, conveniently she's speaking of God.
Yeah, you know what? Let's let women in the NFL. Absolutely. Let's put a 300-pound land whale versus a 300-pound male linebacker. I mean, you know what? Like, you put that up, you put an all-female football team against an all-male football team, I might actually watch football. I may actually watch football just to see a full-on male NFL team take on a full biologically female NFL team for one game where they're taking it completely seriously. Absolutely. I think that you could absolutely make that freaking pay-per-view and it would go just ballistic. So yes, please NFL, let us see this. Let us make this a reality, because quite frankly, it's probably going to draw more viewers than most of your modern games.
His name, because she wants to be perceived as a male. There's that penis envy there. Is 5'6", 162 pounds. Not even close. No way. And she went
162. Average. What? Average? 5'6", 162. What? Fucking average is chubby as hell. What the fuck?
Wants to play on the defensive line, where, I got to be honest, I don't know too much about football. I use the Super Bowl as an excuse to hang out with family, talk a little bit, maybe watch a little bit of sport. Maybe, someone does like a backflip and does a touchdown. Some cool shit happens like that every so often. I know enough to follow along with the game. I know a little bit how the game works. But I had to do some extra Googling for this, because I did not know the answer to this, which is, how much does an average defensive linebacker weigh?
I'm willing to bet it's over 200 pounds. Probably closer to 250. Let's see if I'm right.
Now, let me repeat. Tony Harris is 5'6", 160 pounds. The average defensive lineman is 300 pounds.
Yep, I was being too conservative. Yeah, 300 pounds. And it makes sense. Why? Because they got to be able to stop a charging man. You need bulk. You need mass. Tony Harris is literally up against men twice as big as her. And that ain't just fat there. Like, that is probably fat cushioning a shit ton of muscle. They are on the ultimate bulk for their entire careers.
Twice what she weighs. If she goes into the NFL, they will kill her. Unintentionally. Possibly. This is clearly not good for her. This is clearly something that is going to lead to permanent injury to her.
Yep. Still going to pay to watch it, though. So, NFL, please, get like a full team of Tony Harris's. Get a full team. And just let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. I wonder if we could get like a physics simulator just to simulate what happens. Because they probably wouldn't let it actually happen. But if we could get like one of those physics simulators, like the same quality where they test like specialized rounds against tanks, but with like Mortal Kombat graphics, so we get to see every single bone fracture and organ rupture. NFL, you're missing out here. Come on.
But people are not telling her no. And the media is trying to promote this like this is just some fantastic thing. And by the way, they do this. I remember there was this meme of this picture of a guy. He's basically, it's like in a third world country, and this soldier is giving water to a third world child that needs water. If you zoom in on that picture enough, it looks like the soldier is pointing a gun at a 9-year-old. If you zoom out, you can see that the gun's not pointing at the 9-year-old at all. He's just giving the kid water. And what the media is doing here is they're taking convenient angles. They're zooming in, making it look like it's something it's not, so that you believe a certain narrative. And what they've done, it's like they realize these people they think we don't have the fucking internet. We can just look this stuff up. Because the way they present
Well, okay, the reason that they don't think that is because the vast majority of the population doesn't. Like, most people don't look things up. Could they? Yes, absolutely. Would it take minimal effort? Oh yeah, it would take very little effort. Maybe 2 minutes out of their day. You think they're going to do that? No. No, they're not going to do that. Like, people are lazy and don't care. They don't. Heck, by and large, I'm lazy and don't care. Like, that's the thing. I'd see such an image and go, like, either, whatever, or, media's probably lying to me, whatever. I wouldn't fucking care to verify. And the people who do care, they're just going to jump to whatever conclusion most emotionally suits them. They're not going to care about what the truth is. People could, sure, but they don't care. They don't want to. And what's the point? What does it really, like really? What does it really matter whether a soldier is giving a kid water or pointing a gun at them? It's probably a staged photo op either way. So, why? Why would someone care? Like, if the story is sus, I go verify. Yeah, fair enough. If the story is sus, I don't even look up stories that could be sus in the first place. I've got people that I trust who verify shit for me. Like, maybe if there's something a little more complex or deeper, I'll go and look into it. But by and large, like for all these world political event stories, I don't care. Genuinely, I don't. Most of it's bullshit anyway. If it gets published, it's probably bullshit. But let's see. We still got about 10.5 minutes here. Let's try to get through this within the next half hour.
Is that she's the first college girl to get a scholarship to a college football team. And you might think, oh, was she playing for Notre Dame? Is she playing for USC? Is she playing for UCLA? No. She's playing for a junior.
Yeah, you know what, Spider Spectre, you're right. Most people read headlines. Most combos I have start by them saying, "Did you hear?" Insert headline, and I have to come up with the details myself. You know what? Yeah. That's the thing. We're not even at the point where people read the story. They just read the headline, look at the picture, and that's it. That is it. That is modern society. People don't even care enough to read the propaganda. And you're expecting that, oh, hey, no, we're not that stupid. We could absolutely look it up. But they don't. They won't even read the full propaganda story to begin with, let alone look up the counter narrative or the actual truth. Some people will. Most won't. And that's not going to change.
College in Los Angeles. A junior college, which, by the way, it's been a while because I went to junior college. I went to fake school. Junior college is, if you have to go there, don't go to college. I was dumb and went to college anyway, but don't go to junior college. It is Adam Carolla would call it high school with an ashtray. Nobody's serious there. Everybody fucks around, and, well, group projects are quite a mess, and people just kind of get stuck there in a void. But junior college, when I was there, cost about $300 a semester.
That's it? $300? For a semester. That's 4 months. I mean, I imagine that the education's fucking worthless, but if you can get verified enough to get a half-decent career for $300 a month, that is cheap by college standards. I was expecting more like $3,000 a month or something. Like $3,000 a semester, but $300 a semester? Fuck. Like, you could afford to pay that. Like, if you had a job on the side, you could absolutely afford that. But that's why I imagine it's also worthless, because education in Canada is expensive enough, to say nothing of education in the USA.
Who the fuck needs a scholarship for that? I mean, I did believe that included books. Now, it's probably a little bit more expensive now, but it's pretty easy to afford junior college as it's highly subsidized.
By the way, if you are in need of college textbooks or university textbooks, check out Z Library. The link's been posted further up in the chat by Sotanar, I believe. So, yeah. You can get a wide variety of textbooks from that website as well. Very good resource. You know, save yourself a paycheck.
Especially in California. This chick is nowhere near being able to be capable of being in the NFL. Maybe she takes steroids like for the next 5 years and really pumps iron. Maybe she could get to like 220 pounds and still be batted out of the way like nothing. This is insane. Now, what I want to do with these podcasts, what I want to do with these YouTube videos, sorry, this used to be a podcast, but I decided to change it to a YouTube channel because I had problems with iTunes. And, well, I know YouTube a lot more. I don't know the iTunes platform that much because I don't listen to podcasts that much that aren't on YouTube. So it just made more sense. But what I want to do is take this event and use it in a way that can help us, that can help teach psychology, because they're doing this for a very specific reason. They want her to be a competitive player, because look at it this way. When I was in martial arts, we had one of these bitches do the same thing. Fortunately, it wasn't me who had to compete against her. Because if you've ever been in a sport where a chick does this, if you've ever been in a sport that's dangerous, like fighting, like football, and let's say fighting because it's an easier example, it's either two things. If you have a girl in the black belt division of a karate competition, you either are the person who lost to a girl, or you're the person who beat the shit out of a woman. There's no winning. You either lose or you lose. And to sit there and be so arrogant that you would put that stress on another competitor who's not trying to compete out of his spectrum is really unfair to everybody else who competes. And so what you're going to have to do is, if you put this chick in the NFL, everybody's going to have to dance around her the entire game, because they're not going to want to be the person who beat up a woman. Because you think, of course, in a highly publicized thing like football, where millions of people watch, you know, stadium seats for the Super Bowl. Now, I don't know, the stadium seats for a football game, I think, are like...
Yeah, now, maybe I'm just being hopelessly naive here, But I'd just be like, look, man or woman, it doesn't matter. She's on the field, she's qualified, she's an equal. I'm going to treat her exactly the same as I would a man. And if I'm supposed to treat her differently, then what is she doing on the field in the first place? Probably hopelessly naive of me, I know. But I think that trying to be more woke and saying that men and women are equal and that if I'm not treating her as an equal, it's insulting to her, which I think actually came up in My Hero Academia, of all things. Where during the tournament arc, like a dude went serious against one of the female characters and the audience got all salty and he was like, look, she's out here, she's fighting me, she's an equal. It's disrespectful to not go all out against her the same as I would a dude. So far as I'm concerned, that's the attitude you'd have to take if you were up against a female in a competition. If I don't give it my all, I'm disrespecting her as an equal. I'm saying she's inferior, so I have to go all out. And quite frankly, if I'm not supposed to go all out, then why the hell is she here? I think that's fair. But I know we live in a reality that would create a lose-lose scenarios. So, yeah, realistically, it's going to cause problems. But I think in this day and age, your best resort is just not giving a fuck. Might be too much to ask for people who have a 6-figure salary on the line, but that's their decision, not mine. I'm in a different field.
$150 for regular seats. For the Super Bowl, they're like $4,000, like $5,000. So you think of it this way: an event that's so highly publicized that it costs $5,000 for a crappy seat. If this chick ever gets mauled in football, they will call it a domestic violence case. And so this is not fair to the men who've worked their ass off, who have spent, a decade of their life, or maybe probably 2 decades of their life, training from Pee-wee all the way to middle school, high school, college, working their asses off, to now be undercut by some chick who got an affirmative action hire. This is not fair to people who play this, and they're doing this for a reason. Like I said, they've been doing this for decades now.
Let's see, sure you just remember the female punter at the college football game? When the men just jogged towards her, didn't take her seriously. Honestly, no. Like, again, so many of these things pass by my feed every single day. I cannot remember most of them unless I see them fresh. But, like, that's the thing. That's the problem. Like, men still treat these women who are ostensibly supposed to be competing in a male space as though they're somehow special. It's like, no. Show respect. Be a proper feminist and treat them like a man. Again, like, let's be honest. These days, if you do not treat a woman the same way that you would treat a man, you are a sexist. Plain and simple. So if you don't want to be a sexist, treat the woman like you would a man and tackle her into the ground full force, intending to break every bone in her body. Because that's what you do to a man. Let's continue.
This is the whole participation trophy culture. This is a no red pen culture. This is everybody wins culture. No, we don't keep score. And this is a very specific attack on men. Because men don't benefit in a case where they don't keep score. Women do. Oh, everybody wins, everybody gets a trophy. That's a very agreeable environment. And that's not an environment that's conducive to developing masculinity, which is what they want. They don't want masculinity to be developed because if they're going to try to take over a country, it's very, very easy when men aren't strong enough to say no. And what makes them strong enough to say no is competition. Competition is necessary to the survival of men.
No, what makes men strong enough to say no is testosterone, something which vegans are very unfamiliar with.
It's necessary to their survival of the self-esteem of men. And because this is a channel for men going their own way and choosing to get rid of...
I'm sorry, I'm just going to back that up a second and repeat that.
When men aren't strong enough to say no. And what makes them strong enough to say no is competition. Competition is necessary to the survival of men. It's necessary to their survival of the self-esteem of men. And because this is a channel for men going their own way and... Competition is necessary to the survival of men. It's necessary to their survival of the self-esteem of men. And because this is a channel for men going their own way
and because this is a channel for men going their own way. This is a channel for men going their own way. If Sean ever tries to deny MGTOW, this is the point where, no. He's very much trying desperately to be a guiding force for MGTOW. His denial of this, should he actively deny it, is clearly full of shit. But let's keep going.
Choosing to get rid of female validation in their life, that is a very, very dangerous notion. It's a notion that's as dangerous as going from someone who's very, very religious to someone who's very atheist. Is a lot of times people throw the baby out with the bathwater. They say everything about religion sucks. Let me get rid of it because the story is fake, because there's no God or because there's no demon below. Everything gets thrown out. The problem is, if you throw everything out of religion, you throw out all the philosophy that has been tradition that has kept us alive, that can keep you going throughout the rest of your life.
Yeah, look, the people who would throw out religion because it might not literally be true, those are the same people who can't abstract to the point of understanding metaphor and the value in stories that are not literally true. I hold very little respect for atheists who hold this kind of value because it's like, look, the only reason you don't believe that this stuff is true is because you don't think that it is literally true. And you can't abstract metaphorically. And yet I'm willing to bet these same people are the ones who use Marvel movies as a fucking example for life lessons. So it's not that they're anti-metaphor, they're just anti-religion. And probably just anti-Christian because they'd probably find some value in the Quran or the Torah. Or Buddhism. They just hate Christianity because they probably grew up with it and are rebellious teenagers at heart who just want to rebel against authority to assert their own individuality. Been there, done that, realized it was fucking stupid. But let's move on.
And so you don't want to do that with MGTOW. You don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater when you decide to not accept female validation, because a big part of a motivator for you to compete, a big part of motivation to set goals and to make progress and be happy is because you're competing to get females.
Okay. I suppose I understand if he's saying that competition is good, even though competition traditionally is for getting female validation. But I'll be honest, when I'm working up like a new army list or tactics for my wargaming miniatures, I do not give a rat's ass what a female thinks, because I know I'm not impressing any female with my advanced wargaming tactics. It is entirely for my own self-validation. I just want to improve at a skill. But, maybe there's black pillars out there who avoid competition entirely because they believe that all competition is inherently about impressing females, and they're trying to avoid that. So, yeah, sure. Like, competition, having people to compare yourself to in order to improve yourself, yeah, that's good. I can generally agree with that. Let's keep going here. We're getting close to being done.
I can certainly take this right out of Jordan Peterson's mouth, because he said this, I believe, a couple times in different...
Like, name 10 books. When I see a hottie, I do want to go lift. It makes me want to get bigger. I get that. I mean, I get that. Like, whatever it takes to get you to do the positive thing initially, because there's a difference between extrinsic and intrinsic values. Most things that you do are going to initially rely on some sort of extrinsic value. You're going to do something for the sake of something external. Like, maybe it's money, maybe it's attention, maybe it's validation from an outside source. You're not going to get the intrinsic, the self-validating aspect of it initially. It's going to take a while before like, hey, I'm not going to the gym because I like it when people look at me and are impressed by what I'm doing. No, I'm doing this because I want to, and I don't care what other people think. And that's not something that happens right away. Extrinsic value is important for keeping motivated in the early stages. It is important to develop an intrinsic value for it, because otherwise, once you stop caring about the extrinsic value, you'll stop doing the beneficial behavior. So, I see what he's getting at here. I see where your point is. But I do hold the intrinsic value as something to work towards in the long term in order to maintain a behavior once the extrinsic value is, well, no longer valuable to you.
Occasions is that women don't really pick their mates. They don't know how to. What they do instead is they just have all the men fight it out in whatever competition they're doing, and they just pick the people at the top. And so women are a big motivator for competition. And if you're going to get rid of female validation, you're going to have to find some other source. You're going to have to find some other way to be competitive, some other way to create goals, especially if you're red pill raging, especially if you're starting to become depressed, because there are plenty of people out there that just like, I don't know what to do without women. And so what you do is bring competition back into your life, or bring it into your life for the first time. And this reminds me of the movie Fight Club, which if not all of us have seen, certainly most of us have seen. And we've seen it because, well, it's popular because it hits either a truth that's ingrained into us for our survival, or some type of desire that's ingrained into us for our survival. Because there's a whole political message behind Fight Club, but the only reason that they get the political message across is because when they initiate new members into Fight Club, they hit some natural urge, and that urge is competition. That urge is fighting, is hand-to-hand combat, one-on-one. The most manly person wins. And no women allowed. Because men need these spaces. Men need these spaces where they can compete. Men need these spaces for challenge. And if we don't get that, we don't feel happy and we don't feel self-actualized. So if you don't have that into your life, bring it back. Join some type of, if you're an adult, join some type of sports team. If you're not an adult yet, there's plenty of school sports you can go and join if you're not there in the yet. Or if you are a massive nerd, how about you just play a couple fighting games, a couple MOBAs, maybe you play Counter. Do people still play Counter-Strike? Or I was about to say Fortnite. Sorry about that. Overwatch, or whatever games people play that are competitive, and bring that into your life.
Personally, I'm more for the tabletop wargaming scene because, well, I got a bit of an artistic background, so I enjoy the artistic element to it. I enjoy the tactical aspect to it, and I've found a community that I enjoy being with. It's a very supportive community. Because it's a niche market. They're pleasant to be around. They're nice to hang out with. So, yeah. I'll spend a couple hours building up plastic miniatures and trying to enhance my ability to make them look nicer. Yeah, when the tabletop competition comes, I'll get kind of serious, but at the same time, I want everyone to be performing to their top ability, so there's the element to improve. And honestly, with freaking gyms these days, it's nice to be able to participate in something that has a stupid high barrier to entry. And I don't recommend tabletop wargaming for everyone, because I'll admit, it is a stupidly expensive, bloody hobby to have. But I enjoy it, so it's my thing. Everyone's gonna find their thing.
Fact that that's the easiest way to do it. Or certainly outside of those games, what you don't want to do is you don't want to be spending your entire life playing video games, because that's not, unless you're going to be professional at it, that's not really a productive skill that people need or people want. And so what you could do is,
neither is tabletop wargaming. That's why it's a hobby. A hobby does not need to be fucking productive. It's a hobby. It's a freaking money sink that you do because you enjoy it and it gives you some kind of reason to keep going. Come on, for fuck's sakes. Not everything you do in life needs to be long-term productive. You can just do something because you enjoy it.
well as on side with that is compete with yourself in a certain skill. Let's say I'm studying a language. I was this good last month. Now I'm twice as good this month. I've just competed with myself, and I've just done better than what I did before. Or if I'm going to do a workout, I was able to do 10 push-ups last month. Now I can do 30. I've beaten my own record. And what this really should be is a combination of both. I'm competing with myself.
30 in one sitting is a record? You've been doing fitness for how long? Like, if I can only do 30 push-ups in one set, I consider myself out of shape and in need of improvement. But whatever, he's a vegan at this point, so different standards for different people, I suppose.
And once I get good enough, I will compete with other people. And so that's about as much as I have to say about that. But I think there's, outside of the competition part, there's one big takeaway from this, is that we yet again have another opportunity to say no. And there will be many of these opportunities around, but this could be a big one. Someone needs to tell this chick no.
Oh, no, someone does not need to tell this chick no. Someone needs to tell this chick yes. Yes, you absolutely should compete. In fact, here, resist this tackle from a man twice your weight. And then maybe when she's in the hospital with some organ ruptures and fractured bones, then she'll realize no. Because if you just tell her no, then she's just going to cry and scream about oppression. Nah. You say yes, and then you treat her as an equal. That is how she will learn.
It's not going to be good for her. It's not going to be good for men. And it's not going to be good for society in general. In fact,
who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck what's good for society? Society don't give a fuck about me. What the fuck do I care what's good for society?
if she is such a strong, independent woman who doesn't need anybody's help, who can do it all by herself, who's broken through all the boundaries, why is it that she has to join a male sport? Why can't she? Why is it she has to join someone else's club? Why can't she make her own club? Why can't she make a club that's so powerful that all the men would be fighting to join it? It's because in this case she can't, and she's not recognizing her limitations. She's not looking at things that are extremely obvious. The guys who are competitive at the level you want to be at are twice as strong as you. You will get wrecked. You will get ruined, and not only will you embarrass yourself, not only will you permanently injure yourself, but you're going to make men's life worse for it. So let's call that a video. If you like the video, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button.
There is no like button. There is no subscribe button because Think Before You Sleep deleted this from his archives. And that is why I'm going through and dissecting these one by one. And that is that segment. So we've still got another 10 minutes or so, and we got through 4 videos today. I'd consider that fairly productive. So, chat, let's see what we've got for the poll. The majority, by 64% to 36%, is 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, I'm going to make it a morning release. So, every morning at 6 a.m. EST, whatever it happens to be for you, there's going to be one new AI song with album art and some kind of original name. Yeah, come on, let's get a more pleasant image up. Cover up Mr. Sean there. And morning release. Hey, look, it's a morning release for you to have your morning release to, okay? And I'll be honest, seeing you guys in chat, a bunch of y'all are in better shape than me, which is good motivation for me to put in a lot of extra effort, but I'll be honest, I'm short on fucking time. And it is hard to put away the 3,000 plus calories I need to in order to bulk. Like, I know a bunch of guys are trying to cut this season. My ass is trying to bulk this season. It's hard to put away that many calories. Smooth AI jazz with my morning release. Maybe tomorrow will be some smooth AI jazz. Who knows? It really depends what I decide to put together. Every guy should be able to bench 225 minimum, though. Well, despite my avatar. Not yet. I'm working on it. I can lift pretty decently, but benching, that's a different matter. Honestly, I need to buy more weight so I can even work my way up to that point. When you got a home gym, you gotta build up your collection. Bulking is easy. Just eat and eat and eat some more. It's like, well, in theory, yes. But I don't know. I just find it hard to eat that much. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I'm pulling like 4 or 5 live streams a week, guys. Like, it's hard to find the time to eat. The money to eat, that's one thing, but the time to eat, I have to double the amount of trips to go to the grocery store. Gotta start chugging back some more of that mass gainer. It's been a while since I had a good bowl of mass gainer. I need a fat dude to motivate me. No, I get plenty of those at work. Freaking fat dude at work talks about how he ate an entire cake in one sitting, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude. A whole cake. No wonder you can't lose weight on the job. You're eating 4,000 calories per day. Take 1,000 of those and give them to me. I get more fats condensed in calories. Like, that's the thing. I eat decently fatty foods. Like, I do. It's just I don't eat enough of them. I can only put away like a quarter of a bucket of KFC in a sitting, guys. Like, after the freaking like 6th, 7th piece of chicken, like I'm starting to feel like I need to stop eating. Yeah, a cake. A whole cake, not a slice of cake. Just a cake. I just tried to imagine it. A whole cake. Oh God, bulking 6 meals a day. It's like, dude, I mean, like my work, I get 2 like meal-ish breaks at work. I need to have breakfast, both those, and then 3 evening meals to be on a 6 meal a day plan. I mean, not counting sleep, you're eating every 2 to 3 hours a meal. I don't know. Maybe I got to train my stomach before I train my chest. Yeah, Frost grabbing 6 chickens a day for 1 kid. That's the thing, guys. Like, I'm OMAD 1 meal a day. It's like, well, that's the thing. I burn so many a day. I can't eat enough in 1 meal to get the amount of calories I need in order to get through the full day. Beer is a meal. Well, let's see. I could go for my 4th ale of the day. I mean, maybe I can try to drink my calories. 4 p.m. Oh, dude, I'm lucky if I'm off work at 4 p.m. I usually don't eat before 5 or 6 when it comes to my evening meal. Don't listen to Eunice. He's got no skin on this matter. As a ghost, technically I've got no bone in this ring either. Don't have time to cook enough to eat. Wants to make a large amount of one thing. Oh, that's honestly my strategy. Just like make a big bowl of like chili combined with pasta, so it's super calorie dense, like both ground beef and beans, and then you make enough of that to last you a week. Personally, I like it spicy, so I toss in a bunch of hot sauce. No breakfast prior to 1 p.m. Jeez, dude. If I don't eat if I don't eat something before 11 o'clock, I start to get freaking antsy. But like, I usually burn a lot of calories by that point. So, I don't know. Different lifestyles, different diets. This conversation is making me hungry. Yeah, no, I guess we're talking about food. But we are just about at the 3-hour mark. We managed to get through a good 4 episodes of Think Before You Sleep. So I hope that this has at least somewhat made up for missing out on the past 2 weeks. I will try to get these to at least be a weekly thing, and thus solidifying my schedule of 4 live streams a week. I need to train your stomach? Yeah, I do. I gotta train it to eat more. So I think we're gonna jump to the ending right now and just finish her off. So thank you all very much for attending the Red Pill Cult meeting. Next thing that I've got scheduled will be Sunday's Elden Ring. Oh wait, no, actually tomorrow's the Warband Exile stream. So we'll be heading back to the Exiled Lands. Probably going to be fairly chill. I think it's going to be a lot of resource gathering and building, so it's going to be a fairly chill stream. Nothing really extreme going on there. And then Sunday, I've got some minor plans for Elden Ring. Like, we're going to go tackle some new shit now that we're a lot stronger. And we'll see if we can make Wednesday a regular for a Red Pill Cult meeting. But again, thank you everyone for turning out. Bring the Beatles to pay his tuition. Yeah, yeah, we'll see about getting Chaz on. But thanks again, everyone. I'm gonna play you guys out, and 6 a.m. EST. Expect some new song to pop up here. I'll start scheduling them, hopefully more than one in advance. But thanks again. Peace out, Warband. Y'all have a good night.